live, clicking live, clicking live.
Clicking live with the squeaky flow. I'll knock you down like a domino.
Click,
TikTok
click,
time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood, and with me now we have your not so friendly Apostate Prophet. How you doing, AP?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. You know what they say. They say when you got to do something, you just got to do it. And when you do well, you do well. When you don't do well, you don't do well. And that's just what it is. You know what I'm talking about. That's just I've been doing well. Been doing well. Yeah, counting my bills, popping the pills.
Trying to find out if we are in fact live. Yep, we are. I see
Got
myself.
some skills. Made the mills.
Man,
Anyway.
you trying to
Oh,
you trying to freestyle, man? Because I can drop a beat. That was way before your time, man.
beast.
You don't remember the Fat Boys? That Buff from the guy was morbidly obese, but he went by the name Buff,
Oh.
and he would go like that. Pretty dope. Anyway,
Be-
hey,
Anyway.
so we're talking about this. You familiar with these guys?
Who?
You got this one guy. His name is Mosab Hassan Yousef. Familiar with this guy?
Oh, he's that's the guy who chose the cow, right?
Oh yeah. He said he chose the cow.
Okay,
So-
okay. Yeah.
so this dude-
I remember that guy.
Why don't you give people what's his background again? Let people know in case they're new here.
Well. Mosab Hassan Yousef is an interesting, a very, very interesting person indeed. He's actually from the West Bank, also called Judea and Samaria. Identifies as a Palestinian Arab, and his family was very instrumental in the beginnings of Hamas, when Hamas was created as a Muslim Brotherhood organization. His father is counted among the founders of Hamas. He himself was also, for a while, part of Hamas. He was a member of Hamas, but he, in prison, realized that Hamas are not the good guys and switched over and became a spy for the Israeli Shin Bet, the security agency, and saved a lot of lives and gave them a lot of information and inside information on preventing terrorist attacks and things like that. Eventually, he made it known and left the country, meaning Israel or the Palestinian territories altogether, and has been an activist ever since, and is also an ex-Muslim.
And the other guy, Cenk
Uygur.
Does he pronounce it Uyghur? How's he pronounce it?
It should be Uygur. That's just the right way. It's Uygur. Uygur. It's not Uyghur.
I always hear Uyghur.
Uyghur.
When you talk about the Uyghurs being genocided in China, you always hear Uyghur. You're saying it's actually Uyghur.
No, Uyghur, like that. Uyghur. That's how
Okay.
it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to give me a tutorial on that one. But so is this guy Turkish?
Yes,
That would kind of tell us everything we need to know about him, right?
of course.
There's
You
nothing
see it
else.
once again. Whenever you see a Turk, is there really any exception to the rule at all? Whenever you see a Turk, it's complete disappointment, complete whatever it is, any bad quality that you can think of, just add it to that. You know?
You know, it's weird. They called themselves the Young Turks. Weren't those people who were like involved in genocide back in the day? Weren't they called the Young Turks? Wasn't that like a
Yeah, the Young Turks were actually an organization that took over the Ottoman Empire when it was at the decline.
were they communists
And-
or something? Were they commies? Because I know there
No,
was
they were-
communism. I know there was communism working its way in there at some point.
No, they were just they were rather secular nationalists who took over and who played a crucial part in committing the Armenian genocide, for example. So they messed things up a little bit.
Leave it to some Turks. Isn't that weird though? That like you picked that to name your news channel after the Young Turks.
Yeah, yeah, it
It's
is.
weird. It's weird stuff. Anyway, so we've got a Turkish dude. So we already know what we're dealing with there. Versus a guy whose dad is one of the founders of Hamas and who was there and who was active behind the scenes, who's been on both sides of the issue. And of course, the Turk is going to explain to the guy who was there how he should really think about all of this. Going to be good.
Cool.
Going to be good. Let's see. I did want to see what the actual thing was titled. Keep in mind, guys, I have not watched this. You haven't watched it. Have you watched this? This just came out.
No.
We just found out about this last night.
No.
You have not watched this. Just
No.
want to see what the official title is because it's not. I mean, the guy may say it in the beginning of the debate. It's Cenk Mosab. Just want the official title so we know what the topic is. Oh wait, it's on my thumbnail. Can Israel make peace with Hamas? Okay, that's exactly what I thought it was. Can AP? Here's what's interesting. The topic isn't can Israel make peace with Palestinians. It's specifically Hamas. Can Israel make peace with the genocidal maniacs who are hell-bent on completely wiping out Jews and fulfilling Muhammad's prophecy that the end will not come until Muslims fight the Jews and the Jews are hiding behind rocks and trees until the rocks and trees say, hey, Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come kill him. That group, they didn't say Palestinians in general. They said, can Israel make peace with Hamas, the terrorist group?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, on the other hand, we could also ask, for example, can the world make peace with ISIS or Al Qaeda? It's also a question. That should be a debate. How about let's have a debate on that? Can the world make peace with ISIS? Should we make peace with ISIS? Why it would be a better choice for the world to make peace with ISIS or Al Qaeda? Should America make peace with Al Qaeda?
Yeah, and yeah, so that's absolutely insane. There is a way to do it, but that would not depend on other groups. That would depend on the group, like Hamas or ISIS or whatever, like just radically realizing how wrong they were and completely changing course and saying, I don't know why you'd keep the same name if you were going to do that, but assuming you did that, wait a minute, we renounce violence in all its forms and so on, and we agree to live in peace. But it's not on can Israel do it? It's could Hamas possibly change so radically that they would no longer want the destruction of Israel?
And the answer to that is very clear. Actually, it is directly in the fundamental text, the covenant of Hamas. It has been part of their statements forever. It is one of the primary purposes why Hamas allegedly came into existence. Their entire reasoning when they came out with their 1988 charter. Sounds like they came out with their first album, so when they came out with their first charter, it said specifically that that the society they were living in had drifted too far away from their Islamic spirit, and the PLO had become too secular and had started to make too much compromise with Israel, with the Zionist entity, whereas Hamas was committed to permanently fight Israel, to make no compromises at all, ever, to never make peace, to never recognize Israel, to never stop fighting, and to eventually reach Allah's promise of defeating and eradicating the Jews and taking all of this land and establishing Islamic authority once and for all. Again, this is directly part of their entire reason why they exist.
The There's a super chat about this. There's a couple here. Let me just scroll through these real quick and get to the one I'm referring to. SNR says, Mosab, it is not funny. It is not funny. Cenk, you are not even fit to be a yogurt. If he said something like that, that would be the most hilarious thing ever. But I think this is just a parody of when he told that woman that. And people didn't understand because the clip circulated of him saying, you're not even fit to be a mother. When the reasoning was if she thinks it's okay to for Hamas to attack children and so on as a defensive measure, you're not even fit to be a mother if you think it's okay to go around targeting babies and so on. Anyway, it would be funny if he said, "You're not even fit to be a yogurt." That would be like mic drop, end of debate. Jake would never recover. Did you see Britain has its first communist leader?
Oh yes, totally.
No, is this just pointing out that the guy acts like a communist?
I mean, it's a socialist. It's a socialist government, and yeah,
it's not looking good. The only good thing going for the British right now is lots of people are exposing it. In other words, Britain's becoming kind of a laughingstock for their totalitarian crackdown on anyone who disagrees with what they're doing. So keep up the pressure. That is kind of the people of Great Britain objecting. That's massively important, and all the support they can get from around the world. As far as, my goodness, can you imagine? It's one of the greatest countries in the world, now turning into a simultaneously Sharia-compliant hellhole and a place with just massive crackdown on. And I mean, they're showing up and arresting people over things they posted on Facebook and so on. It's insane.
Yeah. And the thing is, people have learned to comply. There was today a report that the riots have stopped after explicit statements that they could lead to 10 years imprisonment or something like that. So it looks like it works. It looks like threatening the own population works, and people feel like okay, I don't want to go away for that long.
You don't want to go get locked up for this.
They're actually putting people in prison. It looks like so. I don't want to get caught in this, and they are stopping. And this is just. They set this up for quite a while, and you see how the UK is very harsh, of course, against the own people, against the own white British people, while being totally weak, totally soft on Islamists, for example, who have done and said horrible, abhorrent things. I mean, did the people who went around destroying things and waving Islamist flags and Hamas flags and calling for a caliphate, did they get the same treatment? No, they didn't.
No, there were even I even saw a video clip where a guy, because there were two groups. There were the guys protesting against the I guess the unfiltered immigration and so on, and then there was the pro-Palestine group. The guy just walked up and showed, look, over on one side they're surrounded by officers in full riot gear, waiting to pounce, and he goes to the other side, and it's not. There's some police officers there and stuff, but they're not there in riot gear. They're not looking intimidating. They're looking quite friendly. So just showing. It is what you guys hear about two-tier policing. Absolutely correct. You see it over and over and over again. And it is so insanely messed up that you could actually have someone like Ali Dawa saying, oh, we can't wait till we get the power so we can chop the heads off of all the apostates. And if you say on Facebook, hey, someone needs to stand against this because these guys are talking about chopping people's heads off, they can actually show up 5 deep and arrest you for objecting, for saying someone should stand against this.
It makes sense. This is how it's supposed to function.
Pretty well stuff. Anyway, here's the comment I wanted to talk about on this debate. Mr. Mugg says, hey there, I was pretty offended by the fact that the title didn't say, can Hamas make peace with Israel, as if Israel is the aggressor. Agree? Yeah, that's something that stood out to me as well. It's, can Israel make peace with Hamas? Not can Hamas make peace with Israel? Because, I mean, who would the bulk of this be on? If one side, if one of the sides needed to become peaceful, it would be Hamas. Because guess what? If Hamas became peaceful, there goes the dispute. There still might be some issues of you got to hand over those guys who committed these terrorist attacks. You got to do that. These guys have to come and face justice. There might be something like that. But if Hamas just renounced terrorism and so on, there would be peace. So how is it on Israel? What you're asking, what you should, if you want to phrase it like this and say, can Israel make peace with this other group? Then it should be titled something like, can Israel make peace with genocidal, homicidal maniacs who are hell-bent on completely annihilating Jews? Yeah, but there the answer would be no. It'd be clear no, right? You can't. If their organization is hell-bent on annihilating Jews, no, Israel cannot make peace with them.
There's this phrase which is often attributed to Netanyahu, which is if the Arabs put their weapons down, there would be no more Israel. If Israel put their weapons down, there would be peace or something.
That's true.
Did I just say it right?
Wait, did you say repeat what you just said? We've heard that 1,000 times.
Wait.
Repeat what you just said.
If the Arabs put their weapons down, there would be no more Israel.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Opposite. If the Arabs put their weapons down, there would be if Israel put its weapons down, there would be no more Israel.
Yes, exactly.
Palestinians put their weapons down, there would be peace.
What exactly happened in my brain just now? Wow,
I don't know.
That's fine.
Because I was I wasn't exactly listening very closely because I knew what you were saying, and I've heard that 1,000 times. So
same.
If you actually said it wrong, that's over, man.
It's over.
You're going to be canceled. You're going to be canceled by Jews.
I'm going to delete my channel. But yeah, so that's exactly, and that's the reality. It's an accurate statement. The whole conflict, the violent conflict, the war is ongoing because the other side, not Israel, because the other side insists on fighting, insists on violence, insists on wanting to change the borders, wanting to take over, wanting to take back things that they have supposedly lost 70 years ago and so on. Israel is not the side that insists on fighting. Israel was from the very beginning open to agreements, open to simply settling and building and recognizing each other and so on. It is the Arab side that has been repeatedly and insistingly at war over and over and over again. If they stopped, this would be over.
That's true. That's true. Turksplaining is a real problem. I Googled Bangladesh Hindus earlier, and top result was a Turkish site saying it's Indian fake news and nothing is going on. Yes, Turksplaining is a problem. These Turks always think they get to explain everything to everyone, and they're deceptive. Jesus is Lord. God bless you both. True. Giant Disco Panda says, what's a jihadi's favorite World War II tactic? Carpet bombing. Love your work. I had to take a break from your guys' content. It's just too much negativity. How does it feel like to warn people for years, but they still don't listen? Is there any way you can get a debate hosted by a big podcast channel like PM or JP? So who's PM?
Well, who's PM? I don't know.
Oh, Piers Morgan.
Okay.
Or Jordan Peterson. No, we're not. I mean, people challenge us to debate, and we debate and so on. But generally on these channels, they try to go for people. I don't know. They try to go with famous people who are trending and so on. As far as the negativity and warning people for years, and they still don't listen. That sucks. It sucks. I mean, you're trying to help people and trying to alert people to dangers that are going to be a massive threat to their future generations and so on. And people hate you because of it. However, even though it takes a long time and it really, really sucks, there are people who do listen over time. In other words, there are way more people who listen now than there were 15 years ago. And so, you just got to do it anyway. You just got to be relentless and not cry like a Turk.
Yes.
If Allah revealed all other previous scriptures, why don't they all sound exactly like the Quran? They may say corruption, but where's the proof? Hey, leather straps of the vertical smile. You will love my video that's coming out tomorrow morning. I just recorded it, have not edited it yet, but that will be up tomorrow morning.
Based.
And you will see some of what you just were talking about. Tezbot says, Elon Musk called Hamza, me and AP were just talking about this right before we went live. He called Hamza Yousef, Scottish MP, super racist scumbag. Yeah. And then Hamza threatened to sue Elon for calling him racist scumbag. And Elon said, go ahead. Ha, ha, ha. Dare you to sue me. You're racist. And as racist as you are from your public speeches, we know that Discovery would show that you're even worse behind the scenes. So I anticipate that guy backing down real quick. I assure you, whatever else happens, Elon will be able to hire some very, very excellent lawyers.
I mean, doesn't this guy Yousaf Hamza know anything about the law in the United States? Because
he thinks Elon can't call someone. You can't call someone a racist now. When you watch this guy's talks and he's like, white people, white people, white people, this, white people, that, white people. And Elon's like, you racist. And he's like, what? I'll sue you. Yeah, you better learn the law over here. Elon can call you a racist all day long.
Suing an American for such a thing is not going to get you anywhere. Right?
Yeah, all we do literally all day, every day in America is call each other racists. That's what happens. You can't just, now we're gonna start suing each other over that. Come on. Mish here says, all Britons worship Elon as all Jews worship Ezra. Yes, they call Elon all Britons. And the Britons say Elon is the son of Allah. Joshua says, I want to contrast Leviticus 18:23 prohibiting animal-human relations. I can't find Islamic sources in English that allow it. That allow animal relations. I can think of one in Abu Dawood. It's probably weak, but you have condemnations of it in the Muslim sources. Search on Answering Islam. I remember an article on that discussing it a long time ago. Stephen here says, it's like asking if the sun can set in the east. What's that?
What's your problem with animal-human relationships?
I don't know. I wanted to kind of zoom through that comment because it sounds like he's obsessed with it.
Yeah, just leave people alone.
Yeah, Stephen says, it's like asking if the sun can set in the east. Yeah, asking whether Israel can make peace with a terrorist group whose sole purpose is to destroy Israel. Where's the crowd video from the Ohio conference? Thaddeus recorded that. Thaddeus has not given me that footage yet. And the longer he waits to give me the footage, the more I think that he messed up the footage or something. Because I've told them I never trust footage until it's actually on my computer.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Thaddeus, what's going on?
We'll see. Apparently, even Matt Walsh at the Daily Wire is now criticizing Israel. It's not like Israel's perfect. Obviously, they can be criticized. They can be criticized by other nations. The problem is it artificially creates public moral equivalence with Hamas.
Who is Matt Walsh anyway?
Your hero. That's who.
I don't want to be that guy, but I just want to leave it alone. I want to leave it alone. I don't think that he is a very, very great person.
Why would you instantly go and think, oh, I have to attack this dude?
Because I never liked him, and I also pointed that out in the past. The guy has a different appeal for different reasons because he addresses interesting talking points in quite unique ways, like making the whole documentary about who is a woman. He's not specifically insightful and all that.
AP hates everyone except himself. That's just what you learn over time.
I love Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is fantastic.
As far as Matt Walsh criticizing Israel, as far as I'm concerned, you can criticize Israel. If Israel crosses a line, just like if the United States crosses a line or someone else crosses a line, you can criticize them all day long. But yeah, if this becomes like some sort of a moral equivalence, then that's gone off. Then you've gone off the deep end. These are not the same situations. One is a group that is surrounded by people who would like to destroy it and people who want to be relentless in launching terrorist attacks, bombs, all that stuff, random shootings. And that's the situation they're in, and they have to respond to it to keep their people safe. That's a rough situation to be in. Are people in that situation going to cross lines at certain points, break their own laws? And so, yes, that's going to happen. But let's not pretend that's the same thing as an actual terrorist group who wants the other side completely exterminated and obliterated, night and day, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, let me read you something here from Matt Walsh directly.
Oh,
From
here we
Matt
go.
Walsh. Matt Walsh. And it's going to be, it will be very familiar to you, Dave. Where did it go? Matt Walsh, Israel. Okay, here. I got it. Don't worry. Don't panic. Here's Matt Walsh, May 1st. The vast majority of Republicans just voted for a bill to criminalize criticisms of the Israeli government. If the bill passes, you will be guilty of hate speech if you apply double standards to the government of Israel or accuse it of genocide. This is honestly one of the most insane pieces of legislation I've ever seen. David, you and I both know that this is complete nonsense.
That sounds like complete nonsense.
This is complete nonsense.
Where did he say that was? Where's that?
He said that on Twitter.
No. I mean, where is this a law? Is this Israel or the U.S.?
The U.S.
Okay.
He's commenting on the whole thing that we commented on when it happened. The
Okay.
supposed anti-Semitism bill.
Yeah, so guys, I would have to say I have not read it, but this has all the vibes of when they were making it a law about college campuses on how you identify whether an act of discrimination is based in anti-Semitism versus not based in anti-Semitism, and they gave a list of things how you identify it, and then a bunch of these commentators went crazy. They're saying that we'll be thrown in jail if we ever criticize Jews or Israel. It's the end of free speech in America. It's like we actually read the entire bill, and there's nothing, and it specifically says nothing in this bill can be construed as interfering with a person's freedom of speech in the United States.
And nothing about the bill has anything at all to do with putting people in jail or making something illegal. It's all simply about government fundings for the Department of Education, depending on whether they allow discrimination to happen under their wings or not. But Matt Walsh was also one of those people who completely misconstrued and blatantly made declarations about how Republicans approved of making it illegal to criticize Israel. 20,000 likes.
Yeah, isn't that insane? It was because you had all these acts of anti-Semitic discrimination on college campuses, people being blocked. They couldn't walk in. They couldn't go into their dorms and things like that. They'd be blocked and harassed and so on. And so the issue came up. How do schools identify if this is actually because people just hate Jews or something like that, and that's why they're being targeted? Well, they gave a list of things. If a person is, saying certain things while they're doing it, that's how you could identify it. And then, as far as if a school then says, well, yes, these Jews are being targeted on our campus, but we're going to look the other way, we're going to ignore it, then the point of the bill was the federal government can withhold federal funding from that school until they protect people from discrimination at their school. Yes. And then how did this get twisted? Everyone said the exact same thing. This is saying that you can no longer criticize Israel. You will be arrested and thrown in prison. and it's like, I can't take you seriously after that. I can't take you seriously after that because it took 4 minutes to read the entire bill. It's a short little bill. Yes. Anyway, this is wild stuff. I came fashionably late to make Apostate Prophet proud. Following our great leader. Yeah, good stuff. Doc Holliday says, off topic, in reference to the video with SNEAKO and Charlie, SNEAKO tricked Charlie into that debate. I did see lots of people comment that. SNEAKO tricked Charlie into that debate. He set it up as an offline conversation and live streamed it. Scumbag move. I haven't seen that from Charlie, but I've seen people say that Charlie said that, so I'd have to see the original. But he's saying, yeah, SNEAKO's just like, let's have a conversation, but SNEAKO's live streaming it. Huh. And this guy just thought they were going to have a discussion about it.
That sounds quite scumbaggy.
That would be scumbaggy, but it would fit with the Dawa approach, and his Dawa buddies probably put him up to that and told him how to do it.
That sounds like something Mohammed Hijab would do.
Sounds exactly like something a job would do. Alex says, I'm not from UK. Why does the coverage of all this seem to be so one-sided? Is it really because media and police are afraid of being called Islamophobic?
Please delete this super chat because it's pretty Islamophobic.
Yeah. Alex, I mean, there are all kinds of other issues involved, but it's just you raise people their entire lives to think that the worst possible thing they can do is be an Islamophobe, and that any criticism of Islam or anything Muslims do, the only possible explanation is that you're a racist against brown people. You program a generation, you're going to get a lot of people who then want to show how anti-racist they are by calling out all the Islamophobes nonstop.
As it should be, yeah.
Yep. Gosh, we still have a bunch of super chats. We should go ahead and jump into the video. Here is my jizza. They need to make a movie for this guy. Yeah. Why is there no movie about Mosab? Has there been a documentary or something like that? But they should actually have a live action movie of that dude.
I think there was a last I read there was a movie in the works, but it was more meant to be like a docu drama.
What is a docu? What's a docu drama?
Like half documentary, half half film, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, that should be a big Hollywood movie going through that dude's life, because I'm sure it's pretty darn action-packed.
Yes.
Pretty darn action-packed. All right, guys, we got more super chats. We'll get back to those, but let's go ahead and jump into this video. We have Cenk Uygur. AP's trying to teach me how to speak like a Turk. It's Uygur. Mosab Hassan Yousef on the topic: can Israel make peace with the genocidal, homicidal maniacs who are hell-bent on raping and murdering Jews? Can they do it? Can they do it? I think they can. I think they can. I think they can. I think they can.
This is Open to Debate. I'm John Donvan. Hi, everybody. For an episode that attempts to explore...
This is very open to debate.
Did people catch what he just said? He said, "This is open to debate. I'm John Donvan." So it sounded like he's saying, "Who I am is open to debate." We know this is the show name, but if you didn't know that and you just heard someone say, "This is open to debate," I'm David Wood. Be like, "Wait, your identity is open to debate? What?" Hang on.
This is Open to Debate. I'm John Donvan. Hi, everybody. For an episode that attempts to explore what may be possible or impossible in the quest for that elusive result known as peace in the Middle East, a phrase that especially now seems to be the very definition of hopelessness. We have Israel seeking to destroy Hamas.
Cenk.
We have Hamas seeking to destroy Israel. And where does it go from there? If it is not going to end in an endless and escalating war where one side utterly destroys the other.
You can pause it anywhere you want. What's up?
Let's pause here for a second.
We haven't even gotten to the debate yet. We've gotten to this guy whose identity is debatable.
I think this is already a good opportunity where he says Israel wants to destroy Hamas and Hamas wants to destroy Israel. It could, from a certain perspective, look like we are talking about one side wants to destroy the other side wants to destroy the other, and these are and you could go for some kind of an equivalence there. It needs to be pointed out that Hamas is a terrorist organization whose entire existence simply is for the destruction of Israel. So the entire, it is their core foundational idea that Israel should be destroyed. It is at the very beginning of their charter that that Israel will only exist until Islam destroys it. So this is their entire goal, their entire purpose. On the other hand, Israel's goal is not anyone's destruction. Israel's goal is to preserve life for the Jewish population and all others who live in this nation. So it is one side that wants to simply uphold life and be allowed to live and be left alone, and the other side that is hell-bent on destroying and completely annihilating that side. Israel finally now has decided and said, you know what, we are done with this. We are going to take these guys out once and for all.
Yeah, and think about this. So you've got Hamas, which is a terrorist group, and you've got Israel, which is a nation. And he says one wants to destroy the other. And you pointed out, it sounds like, oh, okay, so they kind of want the same thing, but in reverse. Israel wants to destroy a terrorist group, not people in general, a terrorist group. That's specifically who they're going after. Hamas wants to destroy Israel, not just the soldiers, all of it. They want to destroy the men, women, and children. They want to do all of it. They want to completely wipe them out. So that's not the same thing. Saying, hey, you're a terrorist group whose sole objective in life is to annihilate us. Okay, we have to come after you. That's very different from you're a nation and you're Jews and we have to wipe out your entire nation. You're not talking about very, 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 very different things, but it just sounded like the same thing. Powerful stuff, powerful stuff.
How does resolution come about? It would have to involve both sides at some point deciding to stop, deciding to negotiate, deciding to compromise. And how realistic a scenario is that? In this debate, that is the question we are going to explore. And we are phrasing it around this particular question. Can Israel make peace with Hamas? Let's meet our debaters.
Does look like they're putting it on like it's Israel's job to make peace with the other side that wants to exterminate them.
I want to welcome Cenk Uygur. Cenk is the host.
Of course they can. Just get a pen pal, eh? Israelis, find yourself a Hamas pen pal. And then when he sends you a package of who knows what, could be dates, could be falafel. You go ahead and open that passage. Think the best. That's what you do, eh? Of course you can make peace.
Host, founder, and CEO of the Young Turks, which is one of the largest online news shows in the world. You were previously, Cenk, you were the host of MSNBC Live. You've also appeared as a commentator.
He was host of MSNBC Live. That makes perfect sense. But, wow.
You're on CNN, ABC, NPR, Al Jazeera, and Fox. You've been a vocal advocate for ceasefire since early in the war. You're going to be answering yes,
Always
that
been
Israel
a total
can
dork.
make peace with Hamas. Thanks so much for joining us on Open to Debate.
Thank you.
And I want to welcome on the other side, answering no to that
Why
question.
Why are we watching
Mosab
these
Hassan
intros?
Yousef.
We already introduced these guys
Mosab,
ourselves.
you are the son of a Hamas co-founder. You grew up surrounded by the forces and the politics of Hamas before you started working with Israeli intelligence to help bring the organization down. Mosab, you are also the author of the New York Times bestseller, Son of Hamas, as well as the newly published memoir, From Hamas to America. Thanks so much for...
Oh, he's got a new one. From Hamas to America. Huh.
He just published that, I think, yeah.
I did not know that. One second. That's out already?
I'm not sure, actually.
Let's see. You got to check. You can't tell people. From Hamas.
I read his first one twice or so, and maybe I should read that too. I don't know.
Oh, yep. That is official. That came out on the 6th of this month, ladies and gentlemen. So that's been out under a week. It is From Hamas to America, my story of defying terror, facing the unimaginable, finding redemption in the land of opportunity, and choosing the cow.
Oh,
Official title.
Nice.
And how did he not title it? I choose the cow. I choose the cow. Mosab Hassan.
That's what
Yousef.
I would have called it.
I would have totally called it. I would have totally called it. I choose the cow.
joining us on Open to Debate.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get to our opening statements and what we have in answer to our question, can Israel make peace with Hamas? Is one debater answering yes and the other answering no. Cenk, you're up first. Your answer is yes. Here's your chance, please, to tell us why.
Yep.
His name is not Cenk Uygur.
This entire thing, huh? This can't be too long. Their opening statements can't be terribly long because
They can be.
because the whole thing is like only an hour, the whole discussion. Oh, okay. Looks like he has maybe 4 minutes. Oh, okay, that's not bad. So we can get Cenk's 4 minute. Looks
Your
like they have
answer
4
is
to
yes.
5 minute
Here's
opening
your
statements.
chance, please, to tell us why.
Yep. So can Israel make peace with Hamas? Of course. That's who you make peace with, your enemies, not your allies.
Yeah, your enemies.
This is actually pretty elementary. No matter how bad the enemy is.
Of course they can make peace. This is pretty elementary. Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. These guys want to completely exterminate you. Of course you could just make peace. Just extend the olive branch. Write a letter. Get a pen pal. This is Jordan Peterson from 2 years ago level of I don't think Jordan has these same delusions anymore.
This is such lowbrow logic. It's like, yes, you make peace with your enemies, yes. And when do you make peace with your enemies? If your enemies are people that you happen to be fighting with right now because you had a dispute, but otherwise you can totally come to an agreement, right? Let's say, for example, let's say Israel and Egypt had a dispute over something at the border, and they started fighting, became enemies. Eventually, yes, you could say these two are enemies that could come together and make peace. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. They made peace because they thought, our existence is not our existence. We have nothing against your existence. You have nothing against our existence. I think we should stop fighting. Let's come to an agreement. Let's make peace. This is what happened. You can't make peace with an entity whose entire existence is about annihilating you. Israel cannot do that.
Yeah, so what you'd have to say here is he needs to clarify there are different levels of enemies here and different kinds of enemies. Yes, you can make peace with an enemy. That's happened numerous times in history, numerous times in people's lives. Can you make peace with an enemy that is absolutely obsessed with exterminating you while they're still obsessed with exterminating you? No. In other words, it would be stupid if you said, hey, let's come to a peace agreement with these guys so they can regroup and come annihilate us. Okay, that would be stupid and insane, which is probably why Cenk here believes it's the great thing to do.
Cenk should stick to eating and stop talking about politics.
Should stick to turkey.
At some point, if you want to get to peace, and that's a big if, then you're going to have to do it with your enemies and not allies. So if Israel wants to do a peace deal with Norway, that's not really going to help them. They can get there pretty quickly, but that's not the issue at hand. They're fighting Hamas. That's who they have to negotiate with.
We will never have peace with Norway. Never have peace with Norway. We will never back down from Norway. Those stupid Vikings. Anyway.
That's who they have to get to an agreement with.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
Profound.
What an idiot.
The United States doesn't need to make peace with Norway. You got to make peace with people who are your enemies. That's true.
Profound.
That is more relevant. It's similar to the parallel when people are talking about freedom of speech and saying it's not a huge issue for you when people are saying something you agree with. It's when people are saying something you disagree with. That's where you need to actually respect freedom of speech. And sort of similar idea here. It doesn't. You don't need to make peace with people who are friendly towards you. You need to make peace with your enemies. That's great. You can have various groups that have that historically have hostility towards each other, and you can actually make peace. It's happened many times before. Many times before. That doesn't happen when one group will not renounce its obsession with completely exterminating the other side. Show me where that works. Show me where that one works, Cenk.
Yes.
Don't think you will.
And sometimes when you reject out of hand any discussions at all, under the rubric of we don't talk to evil, it turns into a disaster. Why? We know it already happened. Dick Cheney said that after 9/11 and our invasion of Iraq, Iran actually offered to completely eradicate their uranium program and wanted to get to the negotiating table with us. And they had a terrific offer, according to the reporting at the time from mainstream media news sources. And we didn't even get to find.
I'm going to say something. Cenk Uygur, I can bet to you. I can place a bet on this, right? I'm ready to place a bet of, I don't know, whatever it is, anything that I own. If I had a conversation with him to ask him some basic questions about the history of this conflict, I'm sure that he would have. I'm sure that he has no idea what he's talking about. He does not understand this conflict. He doesn't understand the history of it. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the basic principles that Hamas supposedly stands for, and the efforts that Israel has made. look, he's making it look like Israel is this big state that is like, oh, Hamas are terrorists, and we will not negotiate with terrorists ever because we are a powerful state. Therefore, there will be no peace between us and those savages. He thinks he makes it look like that is what is going on. That's not what's happening. Israel actually, in the early years of Hamas, actually tried to approach Hamas. Yes, Israel actually tried to approach Hamas as an alternative to figure out whether they could, have talks with this organization in order to find an alternative and a peaceful future solution, because things weren't working out after decades with the PLO, with the secular Palestinian Liberation Organization. It didn't work out. Hamas turned into a completely messed up, absolutely bloodthirsty organization that is worse than anything the PLO has ever been. Despite that, Israel still, due to global pressure, endured the existence of Israel. And even knowing that Israel has a lot of influence, and knowing that Hamas has a lot of influence and a lot of power, allowed them to build autonomy in Gaza. The Gazans then elected Hamas. Hamas took over, and this happened after Israel pulled out of there and allowed them to show what they can do. Right? Hamas took over and then immediately declared, "We are the sole rulers. No one else is accepted. We will have no negotiations with Israel, no peace with Israel, no recognition with Israel. We will fight until this entire land is ours and until we fulfill the promise Allah made to us." That is what Hamas said, not what Israel said. So it is Hamas that is actually saying Israel is evil and there will be no peace until all of this land belongs to us. It is not Israel saying that. And under these circumstances, there is no way that Israel can even think of having peace with this organization, with these savages, these barbarians, these animals.
It's pretty racist. Pretty racist there. So, yeah. I just thought of how I could remember how to pronounce his last name. It's Cenk Uygur. Brother Uygur. Is that close enough? If I call him Cenk Uygur. Brother Uygur.
That's it.
Does that work? All right. Yeah. So the example that he just used there, that's another example where it's entirely debatable. The general principle he's making, that if you're talking about making peace, where that's most relevant is whether you're making peace with an enemy. You can agree with that entirely. You have to distinguish different kinds of enemies. And the example he gives is Iran, and people saying, no, we're not negotiating with Iran. Well, why might they think that? Why might they think that Iran is the kind of enemy you don't negotiate with? It might have something to do with all the death to America, death to America, death to America, and running around screaming constantly that America is the great Satan and Israel's the little Satan and they need to be exterminated and wiped out. And then, like, these guys are behind terrorist attacks around the world trying to bring that about. Do you negotiate with these guys when they say, hey, if you don't want us building nuclear bombs, send us piles and piles of billions and billions of dollars, and we won't build nuclear bombs for a while. So you fund our terrorist projects and us on our crackdowns, and we'll agree not to make nuclear bombs. Do you negotiate with that? You could. People have done it. If it were me, I wouldn't. I would say, one, I'm not sending you a freaking dime because I know what you use it for, you terrorist. You're obsessed with annihilating us. Let me just say, though, the second we even think you're building a nuclear bomb, we're gonna bomb the crap out of wherever that is. We're just gonna bomb it. So those are the terms of our agreement. We're not negotiating, and we're definitely not sending you money. I'd be something along those lines. But the idea is that you would treat them, because of their hostility towards you, you would treat them differently from some other enemy that may not quite be that hostile towards you. But Israel's dealing with a group. Keep it. Israel has made, as AP pointed out, Israel has made peace with their enemies before, and it's ongoing. That's ongoing. You can't make peace with a group that's primary objective is to exterminate you.
Yes.
Until they renounce that, but then they would just dissolve their group. So it wouldn't be relevant anymore. All right, back to Cenk and his profound thoughts, his deep thoughts. Deep thoughts with Turkish guy.
It's because Dick Cheney had this insane idea that you don't negotiate with your enemies. Well, then who do you negotiate with? It's absurd. Honestly, this is one of the easiest questions of all time. If you say you don't want to negotiate with Hamas, all you're saying is, I don't want peace. I prefer permanent war. So when you think
about the insanity here. If Israel doesn't make peace with Hamas, then it's because they just want war all the time. That's on them.
The idea from a different perspective, and you say, well, okay, some things are so evil and terrible, and Hamas is,
there we go.
You can't possibly negotiate with it. Well, under that same rubric and logic, you could certainly argue that you shouldn't negotiate with Israel. They've killed 35 times the number of civilians.
Hang on. I smell a rat here.
What a scumbag.
Evil and terrible, and Hamas is, that you can't possibly negotiate with it. Well, under that same rubric and logic, you could certainly argue that you shouldn't negotiate with Israel. They've killed 35 times the number of civilians that Hamas did in this conflict. Imagine if Hamas had killed 35 times the number of civilians Israel did.
Which they would have if they hadn't been stopped.
That would be a giant number. What are we talking about? Nearly 1 million people if you took the 40,000 people that Israel has killed in Gaza and multiplied it by 35. And you could say, oh my God, I can't believe how awful they are. And their civilian casualty rates are as bad as Hamas's. Hamas on October 7th was terrible. I condemn it 100%. My heart breaks.
Yeah. I'm sure you're picking up on this, AP. This is absolutely insane what he's saying right here. Let's let him finish this part here, because this is so ridiculously absurd that if I knew nothing about Cenk Uygur, apart from what I'm hearing right now, I'd be like, this guy is a complete moron. If this is how he thinks, in prepared remarks for a debate. Let's let him finish, and then we'll talk about why this is nuts right here. What he just said.
For every civilian who's killed. I'm the one guy who's consistent on this. I don't want any Israelis killed. I don't want any Palestinians killed. The one guy on the planet
who's consistent.
And so, as terrible as that Hamas attack was, well, their kill ratio was 71%. They killed 815 civilians and 1,139 people overall. They killed a lot of soldiers as well. Now, none of that excuses any of their actions. But when you look at Israel's kill ratio, if you assume that every man in Palestine that they killed is a terrorist, which is an absurd, unconscionable assumption, Israel still had a civilian kill ratio of 60%. So when you include the innocent men, that's going to be a higher kill ratio of civilians as a percentage than Hamas. So under this logic, the Palestinians should say Israel is so evil that we cannot negotiate with them. All right, now we're at a standstill. Nobody's negotiating with anyone.
All right, I can show everyone how insanely idiotic what he just said was. Not even arguing about the figures. You can grant everything he just said. That is so insanely stupid and idiotic that, again, if this is all I knew about Cenk Uygur, this would be enough to think we're dealing with a complete moron here. Should I go ahead and break it down, AP? What just happened? Yes. How stupid that is. By the way, did people catch on? He's saying Israel has killed more civilians, and I think he said has a worse civilian casualty ratio percentage than Hamas.
And somehow he knows that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and grant that for argument's sake. I'd have to look at the numbers. I do not trust this guy giving numbers because everything he's just said is insanely stupid. Look at what he just said. Hamas killed this number of civilians, but Israel has killed significantly more civilians. Okay, what's the difference there? There's a really big difference between those two situations, and the difference between those two situations is this. Israeli soldiers don't hide behind civilians. When there's an attack, the word goes out, all you civilians go to these shelters. Even in houses and apartments, they all have safe rooms where you go in there, you lock the door, no one's getting in there. That's where they put their kids. When there's an attack, all the civilians run into the safe room for protection, or they run into shelters for their protection, while soldiers stand out there and fight. Okay, so that's what happens. What does that mean? It means that when Hamas is killing civilians, it's not because Israel is standing behind the Israeli soldiers are standing behind civilians, and the only way you can get to those soldiers is by killing the civilians. No, when Hamas kills civilians, it's because Hamas is targeting civilians. They're showing up at a concert targeting civilians. That's why they end up killing civilians. They kill civilians because they are targeting civilians. When Israel kills civilians, it's because they're targeting terrorists who are hiding among and behind and under civilians. And so they're killing, their target is the terrorists. The terrorists are positioning themselves among civilians so that civilians get killed because, as they have pointed out, they want to maximize civilian casualties. So when you're saying, look, Israel's killed more civilians, if those civilians were sent to shelters and the actual soldiers came out and fought, you wouldn't see any civilians getting killed. They're killing civilians of necessity while going after the terrorists who killed their people and deliberately targeted their civilians. So guys, night and day right there. What is Cenk? Look, I'm just looking at the numbers. You're not looking at the situation at all. You're not looking at the situation at all. Hamas targets civilians. Israel doesn't. Big difference. Big difference. And why do you have so many civilian casualties in Gaza? Because you have a bunch of terrorists who go kill people and then run and hide in tunnels underneath civilians. That's why.
Yes.
If you're too stupid to see that glaringly obvious difference between the two sides, and you make it, well, they could say that Israel's worse because they killed more people. If that's the level of your intellect, this debate's over already. I'm guessing Mosab is going to just wipe the floor with this clown.
Yes. So, first off, Hamas on October 7, when they attacked Israel, over 70% of the people they killed were civilians. Secondly, when Hamas attacked Israel, this wasn't Hamas just trying to target Israeli security forces and then and then also incurring civilian casualties. They directly descended into the civilian population, went to homes, started shooting into homes, killing civilians on site, landed at a festival site where they killed over 300 people and captured many others and took them as hostages. They directly went after, aimed at, and shot civilians who by no means could be mistaken as combatants or as soldiers or security forces, whatever it is. So they directly went for the civilians, had them face to face, and even at gunpoint executed civilians, of which we have camera footage. Show me one such thing show me one incident where Israeli forces have done such a thing. There is no such thing at all. It is Hamas that is a terrorist organization that attacked with the aim of killing and capturing as many civilians as possible, as also expressed and admitted by captured Hamas terrorist cowards. There was mass rape, of course, and if in response to this attack on October 7, Israel acted exactly as Hamas acted in their targeting on October 7, Israel would have by now carpet bombed the Gaza Strip and indiscriminately killed not 30,000, not 40,000, not 50,000, over 100,000 probably, if not much more of the population. They would have killed every single person that they could see, because that is what Hamas did. That is what Hamas did. We have it on camera. We have seen it. Those who have followed my channel have seen it. Those who have followed others who published the footage have seen it. They indiscriminately shot any civilian that they saw on sight, or captured them if they thought it's beneficial to do so. Israel has been, from the very beginning of this conflict, first off, they gave a grace period, warned everyone to leave certain regions, put effort into establishing safe zones, created safe corridors. Now, you could, of course, argue. You could say, you know what, there are instances where the IDF actually shot innocent civilians who were trying to escape. First off, BS, but even if that were true, let's grant it, and let's say there were actually some rogue Israeli Defense Force personnel who actually did shoot at civilians who were fleeing. The majority of the IDF handling of the civilian population in Gaza consists of providing them with a safe corridor and a safe zone, and then stopping fire and saying, leave, go this way, get out of here, because soon this place will be bombed. This place will be a fighting zone. You don't want to be caught in that. Why would Israel do that? If Israel is exactly what Cenk Uygur thinks Israel is, why in the world would they do that? They should just bomb the heck out of it and kill everyone there is. This is not what Israel is doing. This is not what Israel has been doing. This is why, if the other side had the power that Israel has, Israel would be eradicated by now, as they have been expressing it in their covenants and their speeches forever. Israel wants to give the other side a chance to live. And in my opinion, they have been way too tolerant with that.
And the racism has to come in right at the end, as usual.
This is absurd. This is not how you get to peace negotiations.
We agree.
And can peace negotiations work? Of course. You know who's it's worked for before? Israel, when they negotiated with Egypt. And at the time,
when they negotiated with a nation. Yeah, you can do that. Israel has done that. Israel continues to do that. Very different from negotiating with a terror group.
It's just like today.
Israel also did that after being attacked in 3 wars by Egypt. Mm-hmm. After Israel took land and eventually said, how about we give you this land in return for recognition and permanent peace? That's what Israel did. Good point.
Oh, you can never trust Israel. Israel led the invasion of Israel. Egypt led the invasion of Israel twice. They were the leader of the Arab nations. They want to kill us. They're so anti-Semitic. They want to kill all the Jews. You can't negotiate with the Egyptians. They'll never follow through on any of their agreements. Well, it's been decades and decades, and they totally followed through. There was no bombing afterwards. Peace worked. It's actually very elementary. You make peace with your enemies and then see if it holds. That is what has been done every single time. It's absurd to think otherwise.
Thank you, Cenk.
Israel,
now, Mosab.
You mean Israel insisted on having peace and on having peace agreements and having mutual recognition? Israel said, we want to do this 3 times. And when the other side finally agreed, it turned out, yes, it works. Israel actually wants peace and has been complying with that ever since. Yes, Cenk Uygur. Yes, thanks.
Wait, AP. So if you have a group that's a nation, whatever, that's attacking Israel, and that group finally says, you know what, we don't want to continue this forever, let's make peace, you're saying Israel will make peace with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have Hamas, which is, as far as I can tell, still hell-bent on completely obliterating Israel, should they treat Hamas the same way, in the sense that they should say, oh, let's make peace with this group that still wants to exterminate us, just like we did with Egypt when Egypt decided that they don't want to exterminate us. Those are the two. It's the same situation, according to Cenk. It worked over here. Hey, it worked when your enemy wanted to make peace. Why can't it work when your enemy wants to annihilate you? That's his reasoning.
Imagine you live in a neighborhood where you have one neighbor that you don't have any history with, you don't have any beef with, you don't have any existential problem with, but you have a dispute with them, and they repeatedly attack you. But eventually, after repeatedly trying to convince them to make peace and to stop fighting, you convince them somehow, and you bring them to the table, and you make an agreement with them, and they say, you know what, I didn't trust you before, but let's do this, and let's see if it works. And you actually make the peace, and it works, and it holds on forever. This would be the example of Israel and Egypt. Now imagine a different situation where another neighbor moves in and starts out with the entire purpose, with the entire declared purpose of saying, we are just here to destroy you guys and take your home from you, and we will never, ever give up, even if we at some point will, agree to temporary agreements. We will never stop pursuing our goal of eradicating you entirely. Can you really do that same thing with that neighbor? Can you really say, well, you know what, guys? We had our differences in the past. How about we just sit down and make peace? No, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You shouldn't do that. If you did that, if you actually went and made peace with that group, in this case, if Israel actually made peace with Hamas, Israel would be stupid. If it was my country, and this nation, this state was in charge of protecting my nation and my security, they would be betraying me and being stupid in sacrificing all of our lives by trying to make peace with this organization whose whole purpose is to come and kill all of us. This is ridiculous. This shouldn't even be a conversation.
Cenk seems to have this recurring problem where this is like this, and it's not like that at all. Making peace with Hamas is like making peace with he just keeps doing the same thing over and over. It worked over here. Why can't it work over in this completely different situation? Kind of lame. All right, so we heard Cenk's opening statement. I'm guessing Mosab's going to burn him up here. Let's take a few super chats real quick, and then we'll check out Mosab's opening remarks.
Inshallah.
Coffeehouse here says, British co-approaches criticize Ali Dawa's threats, will arrest you. British tourist industry. Why won't anyone visit the UK anymore? That is going to be a problem. I don't know if you were paying attention, AP, but tourism for the Paris Olympics was way down from what they thought it was going to be. And the reason was people knew that that place is a target for terrorist attacks. So not a lot of people wanted to go to the Olympics. And I saw people posting photographs of just like completely empty roads and cafes in the middle of Paris and so on, because people aren't showing up. So anyway, not as many people wanted to go attend the Olympics as anticipated, but also ordinarily during the summertime, tourism is booming in Paris, and it wasn't because the people who would ordinarily go there as tourists in the summer didn't want to go there because the Olympics is going on and it's a target for terrorists. And so it was just way down. But guess what? So what's happening? The tourism industry is being massively impacted by jihad. People don't feel like that's a good place to go anymore. And guess what? You'll have the same thing in London. Who's going to want to go to London just to get beaten up in the name of Allah?
We love jihad.
Drew here says, Cenk Uygur, a guy that recognizes the genocidal issues with the historical Young Turks, his YouTube streaming name says it all. No, Turks are peaceful. Mosab Hassan is smart. He knows how to save his people, unlike Uygur, who uses Palestinian people to his political benefit.
Yes.
And Turks uses Turks, too. Kazakh says, D. Wood, on the Islamic dilemma, Dyer made the point that a 7th century Christian or Jew is told to look at their own book. Quran disproven. Thoughts?
Whomst?
What do you mean? That's exactly what we say. Yeah, what do you mean, Kazakh? Dyer made the point that a 7th century Christian or Jew is told to look at their own book, then the Quran is disproven. Yeah, that's exactly what the Islamic dilemma is. The Quran says Jews and Christians need to go to their own books and that these books are from Allah, and yet these books contradict the Quran on basic fundamental doctrines. So if we judge by the Torah and the Gospel, the ones that are there in 7th century Arabia, if we judge by those books, we have to judge Islam false. And so Islam the Quran puts Muslims in this weird position because there's two possibilities. Either Jews and Christians have reliable scripture from God, or we don't. If we have reliable scripture from God, Islam is false because it contradicts our scriptures. If we don't have reliable scripture from God, then Islam is false because Islam says that we do have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God. So either way, Islam is false. Those are the only possibilities, and therefore Islam has to be false. So yeah, that's the Islamic dilemma. Again, another video. It's not, the video tomorrow isn't specifically about the Islamic dilemma. It includes it and some other absurdities. So check that out in the morning. Mike Winger's Walmart guitar, $79 Walmart guitar. Every time Mike Winger takes me off the wall, he says, "Don't fret. Don't fret. We're just going to play some Tuna-Loons," and then giggles uncontrollably. That sounds about right. Some people say all this weird stuff about Mike Winger, but it's just, I mean, it's the nerdy, dorky stuff that rings true.
What's everyone's problem with Mike Winger, man? It's the best person I've ever seen in my entire life.
Leather Straps with a Vertical Smile says, where in the Quran or Hadith do you learn about Idris/Enoch? Well, you can go to sunnah.com and you can go to Quran sites and look up any term you want to, and it'll give you the references.
Yes.
Joshua says, this is a follow-up to his earlier comment. He says, I have the Reliance of the Traveler PDF, and Eric and Hatun showed 012.3. That's a reference in Reliance of the Traveler. Is page 610, 628 not in English? What quote can I use from Islam?
Yes.
Yeah, again, go to Sunan Abu Dawud and start looking it up. I remember a reference there. But other than that, Joshua, go to sunnah.com. Go to sunnah.com, look up the terms you're looking for, and all the hadiths on those issues will pop up.
Yes.
Shell says, oh, hey, AP, thought it was IP in the clip art. You two are basically twins.
We are.
Mm-hmm. Sheikh Mike Wingjaling says, Mosab was very rude to Cenk. Even Turks deserve to be treated with Quranic standards. Why does he think he understands genocide more than a young Turk? That's a good point. That would be funny if Cenk's like, we're the experts here. We're the experts on this. Look at the name. Look at the name of my channel. You think I don't know about genocide? I own that issue. I own genocide.
Man.
Last week, Cenk was smoked by Michael Knowles on Piers Morgan, and I never seen Cenk ever win a debate, let alone against Mosab. Cenk for prez. Just kidding. Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? I mean, it is funny that you got like this dope who can't argue any point coherently, and because he had a popular YouTube channel for people who don't know anything, then he needs to be president of the United States. Here we have Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca, what's up?
Peace in the Middle East like it will solve the war in Yemen. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's funny. So in the introduction, they were talking about this would be peace in the Middle East. And so Rebecca's pointing out, wait a minute, suppose Israel just suddenly made peace with Hamas somehow. Do you now have peace in the Middle East?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, everywhere. Just matter of fact, you got world peace. Everyone else in the entire world will suddenly become entirely peaceful.
Yeah. Nobody will want to fight anymore. Yeah, totally.
I choose my dog and the cow. AP, have you seen I haven't looked it up, but there's this thing going on in Turkey where they're going around massacring dogs.
Oh yeah, I know. I have heard of it.
We might need to do we might need to do a show on that in the sense of like going through some articles that are talking about what's going on, but then bringing up the hadith passages that show why that is, because that's there are lots of people when they find out about that, they have a problem with it. They have a bigger problem with killing dogs than they do with killing people in the name of Allah.
Yeah. With that issue, we could actually finally attract the attention of all of these idiots who won't see that Islam is a serious.
We got to do it. We got to do it this week. If we can find some good articles where people are actually like soberly reporting on what's going on in Turkey, like these mass dog killings and so on, and then we go through the hadiths and show where this comes from. Basically, Muhammad got stood up by. Guys, think about this. Okay, the story in the hadiths about what sets Muhammad off about dogs, where he orders his followers to slaughter dogs. Later he dialed it back so that people could have like hunting dogs and so on. But at first it was just kill all dogs. And the reason was he's supposed to meet with Gabriel. Gabriel didn't show up. Muhammad's all, oh no, Gabriel doesn't love me anymore. And then he finds out that Gabriel is scared of dogs, right? He's scared. There was a puppy hiding in Muhammad's house. Muhammad finds out about it. Hey, Mortal Wombat gifted 5 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Thank you very much. So Muhammad finds out that Gabriel stood him up because he's worried about dogs. And so he orders all dogs to be slaughtered in the name of Allah. Now, here's what's weird. Gabriel, some believe, was actually Muhammad's companion, Dihya al-Kalbi, who was his boyfriend. Now, Dihya al-Kalbi means Dihya the dog. So a guy who's called Dihya the dog would be over at Muhammad's house behind a curtain with Muhammad. And then when people would be, oh, that's Dihya al-Kalbi behind the curtain for a private meeting with Muhammad. Muhammad, no. That's the angel Gabriel. And here you have Muhammad flipping out because he gets stood up for a little date with the angel Gabriel. And so he has to exterminate dogs. But then you wonder, wait a minute, was he actually stood up for a date with his boyfriend, Dihya al-Kalbi, whose nickname just happens to be Dihya the dog? This is weird stuff, guys. This is like something. There's a disturbance in the force whenever I'm reading these passages. Anyway, we might need to go.
And he was so upset about this.
What's that?
He was so upset about this that he decided to just have all the dogs killed.
Yeah. So I have to say, we're going to have to do a live stream on this, man.
Yeah.
Will we see Jordan Peterson and Alex Jones in the Boom Boom Room? Probably. I'd have to lose about 30 pounds to play Jordan Peterson, and I'd have to gain about 50 pounds to play Alex Jones. Or we find someone else. Snudgewick says, Keir Starmer is an atheist and holds to Trotskyism. So this is as far as a communist leader. So Keir Starmer is an atheist. That should have been enough to warn you there. And holds to Trotskyism. He's the first UK communist prime minister. Remember to pray for us. UK needs salvation. I have to say, it's kind of good that you're getting a communist leader at this point to show what communist leaders do when they get to power. Hopefully you learn your lesson over there. British. What's
Apparently,
that?
he was a communist in his youth, and people argue that he still is.
He acts. I don't know what his policy. He acts exactly like communist, right? He's acting exactly like a communist right now. The way you're cracking down on all dissent and so on.
Inshallah.
British police inspector threatened to prosecute on the line hate speech, aka criticism of Islam, even if done in foreign countries. Will AP and D Wood challenge this threat? How about it? Live stream. Yeah, we want to do that as well. That's something we want to pull up the video clips of this guy saying that he's going to extradite people and so on. It's kind of hilariously stupid, but we might have to go through that, and maybe we'll put it to the test. AP, we'll say we'll say everything we can possibly say to try and make this guy come after us.
I did think that it would be nice to go to the UK and say and do a bunch of really outrageous things that you're not supposed to do now, that are so offensive that could get you in trouble, and then to see what happens.
Yeah, we have to. In other words, we're going to put that to the test, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to see who blinks first. It won't be us. Yeah. We don't blink. Did you guys know Suhaib Yousaf Mosab's brother also left Hamas and Suhaib Yousaf Mosab's brother also left Hamas and spoke out against them? I didn't know that, or I've forgotten about it, but as soon as you posted that, I looked it up, and I saw stuff from his brother in 2019. I don't know what he's doing now, but the articles that popped up were from 2019. That's gotta suck, man. Two of your boys, boys just renounce your ways. Can only
buddy with terrorism, and you enjoy 2 boys. They leave and they speak out against it.
Yeah, can only hope that a bunch of other young guys who are raised up in this actually are like, nah, you know what? These brothers are right. Who is going to be the first to bring a bag of frozen peas to Momo upon visiting his boom boom room in order to make peas? Peace be upon you. We'll do that. Remind me when we're recording, Matthew. We'll have someone bring a bag of peas and then dump them on Muhammad and say, "Peace be upon you." I thought everyone says, "Peace be upon you." That'd be good. Cam says, like saying Jews making peace with Nazis, Cenk needs a Jewish pen pal, but I bet you are secret pen pal with hijab kissing him all over like Muhammad. Yeah, he probably is. Knows too much says, later dishonest yogurt falsely compares Turks occupying the people in the vast Ottoman Empire to Jews occupying their own tiny homeland in Israel. He probably will do something like that.
This guy's just insufferable.
Hey, look at what we got here. Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur. David Wood is as flimsy as paper. AP is as foul as a poop. That does sound like his powerful reasoning. White Trash Panda says, to call chunk yogurt as dumb as a box of rocks would be an insult to boxes of rocks. I have to say, I've never seen him say... And I'm saying this because we just watched Charlie, who apparently didn't know he was debating, didn't even know he was being streamed, thought it was a private discussion. Again, that's just what I heard. I didn't hear that from him. That people are saying that he said that about his discussion. But even then, even while we're watching that, you'll recall I kept saying, okay, he's actually making a good point here. Even though SNEAKO's like mopping the floor with him because SNEAKO came prepared and this guy didn't. I'm still pointing out, wait a minute, he's making a good point there. Wait a minute, this is a valid point. So you can say someone's getting crushed and they're making important points along the way. I don't recall ever thinking, wow, Cenk just made a good point. Not once.
I don't think he knows how to make a good. I don't think he has any good points. I don't think it's possible for him to make a good point.
It's genetic.
The guy is just completely bad.
He's not good. I'll say that. It's Hamas's belief. It's what Allah tells them to do. If you ask Hamas if they're wrong, they wouldn't see that they're doing anything wrong. That's the problem. How do you say, hey, you guys need to make peace when you view it as your mission from God to exterminate this other group at all costs? Like, what do you do? How do you negotiate with them? You're not negotiating them off that belief. That's the point. You're not negotiating out of their belief that their purpose, their reason for being is to destroy Jews.
Yes.
In other words, you have to get them to realize that Islam is false because they know what Islam teaches. There are lots of Muslims who don't know what Islam teaches and who are glad to reinterpret those things and so on. Hamas isn't. Mosab correctly understands there's no Palestinians, only holders of the genocidal Palestinist ideology, but Arabs is not an ethnos either. What does he call them? Did he say there are no Palestinians? Does he call them Arabs?
I think he does say Palestinian Arabs, but he also points out that he uses it to describe these people. He says, I am Palestine. But what is so-called Palestine? So-called Palestine. What is Palestine? He says. And he argues that this is just a fake, made-up identity. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll continue with Super Chats here in a few. We want to get back to this to see Mosab's opening statement. I predict it's going to be better than Cenk's. What?
The important point there to establish very briefly when saying that there is no such thing as Palestinian is what is meant is before the establishment of the modern state of Israel, the people who lived in what is now called Palestine were simply known as Arabs, and they did not have any ambition of establishing their own state and calling it Palestine. Their primary ambition was actually to simply unite with the neighboring Arabs and possibly creating a greater country and being part of Syria or being part of a Syrian, Egyptian, Arab union. The whole Palestinian state, nation idea kind of relies on fighting Israel's existence. So it exists because of Israel. That's the problem.
You're the problem.
That's what they do.
Your turn again. You were answering no to the question, can Israel make peace with Hamas? Your chance to tell us why, please.
So Mosab's position is no.
Well, absolutely not. Why? Because Hamas is not a political movement. Hamas is an ideological movement that wants to destroy Israel to build an Islamic state. Mm-hmm. And they don't stop there. Nope, their political ambition, their religious ambition is beyond the river and the sea. They want a global khilafah. So
yes.
How can you satisfy...
You're agreeing with that?
Yes. And this is... More people should know this. This is something that is... that they say in Arabic. And that many Hamas members and operatives and speakers have said that in Arabic. And they have even... You can even find traces of that in their charter. It's their end goal is not just to take all of the land and to kill the Jews. That is only the first step to them, and then they want to from there start the global caliphate, and they call on all Muslims around the world to join them. So it's basically ISIS, just that they first want to establish a nation and then want to go global. Mosab is completely right here.
He is indeed. I just have to say, point out, like. How he comes dressed in all black with a black background.
Yeah. Dangerous.
Looks like some guy who's going to like come out of the shadows and put a knife in your throat.
Such ambition. The situation with Egypt, with Jordan was completely different. Mm-hmm. Israel has no problem negotiating and making peace with the Arab world. Since its establishment, Israel extended its hand to make peace with the Arab world, but the Arab world rejected.
Yes.
Then the foundation of the Palestinian narrative is sitting on air because, first of all, there was no such thing as Palestine.
He says their claim is sitting on air. It's funny the way he describes it. He's like anyway.
Yeah. If you look at Palestine, it's only an ideology, a very violent ideology. And it took the PLO 40 years to try to destroy the state of Israel, since 1948 until the early 90s, trying to destroy the state of Israel. Then they learned the lesson that violence was a dead end. Mm-hmm. And this is when Yasser Arafat came to negotiations, and Israel had no problem negotiating with Yasser Arafat.
Yes.
But what happened?
Wait, you're agreeing with that too?
100%. He's completely right in everything he said so far.
How are you disagreeing with everything Cenk said and you're agreeing with everything Mosab says?
Because Cenk is a complete imbecile. That's why.
Yeah, here's what's crazy. Cenk is not only someone who has spoken fluent English all his life, he's also a guy who's been doing daily media broadcasts, a ton of them, for a long, long time, a long, long time. And it was pointed out in the intro. This guy used to host on MSNBC and so on. So you would think that rhetorically, Cenk has a massive advantage. And yet, even with all of his many years of experience, everything he said was completely stupid to anyone who's remotely familiar with these issues. And you have Mosab, who doesn't have that background, and yet makes perfect sense to anyone who is at all familiar with what they're talking about here. Good to know.
But to be fair, he's too much.
We had a new generation of Palestinians, Islamists this time, not the nationalists. And that's Hamas. And now they brought us back to square number one. And even Yasser Arafat and the other Palestinian first generation told Hamas, will it take you 40 years to realize that we're going nowhere? We cannot destroy Israel? And Hamas has been trying for the past 36 years, repeating the same mistakes of the PLO and Yasser Arafat. And Israel is caught up in this situation. Tomorrow we will have the communists coming. Then after that we will have more globalists and could be any other foreign entity using the Palestinian cause as a divide.
That was interesting right there. He's talking about all the other enemies that are using this cause. Anyway.
To just keep trying to destroy the only Jewish state on earth. So bottom line, Israel has no problem negotiating with Arabs, making peace with Arabs. Arabs are an ethnic group, and we have no problem. There are 2 million Arabs living in Israel. They are equal citizens, and they can get along with the Jewish people.
And they make good kebabs and falafel. We have seen it firsthand.
But the problem that we're having, that Israel cannot coexist with destructive ideologies such as Palestine and Hamas, because those ideologies are black holes, and nobody can satisfy their ambitions.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mosab. We're going to come up to a break, but before we do,
Oh, that's quick. His opening remarks were 3 minutes.
I want to pinpoint where you each see this
guy's saying there was
disagreement
a break?
lying by just asking you very, very briefly in 1 or 2 sentences to tell me what you see as your opponent's weakest argument point.
I
Why don't
just
you go
want to
first?
I want to just add one thing, which is that what Mosab Hassan Yousef pointed out there, the whole idea of being violent and trying to destroy Israel and not realizing that this is a completely futile ambition. Some people right now, since the war began, actually still go online and say, the world is finally waking up, the end of Israel is coming soon, and so on. People were saying the same thing decades ago, half a century ago. They don't realize that it is absolutely ridiculously stupid to expect to reject the existence of Israel and to say this is ours, it will be ours, we will take it back. Look, even if, although it is complete nonsense, although it is completely ridiculously nonsense fueled by nothing but lies, even if we did admit for a second, for the sake of the argument, that Israel is indeed a colonialist nation that came in and took land that didn't belong to them, and on that land then established Israel. Not what happened at all. But even if that was true, it's over. Just get over it. There is no going back after this point. There is simply no going back. Trying to destroy this entity where generations have now lived and have built what is there, it will not end well. You will never achieve that goal. The result is quite obvious. Israel is a functioning state that is a world leader in innovations and so many different things, whereas the other side, that is a supposed Palestinian state, is nothing but death and destruction.
And peace. You left that out.
Yeah, and peace. Pieces of body parts. Yeah.
So it sounded like this guy is asking what each person views as the opponent's weakest point. I think that's what he just said. So, Cenk, what do you think Mosab's weakest point was? And Mosab, what do you think Cenk's weakest point was? Let's see what they say.
Yeah, this idea that you can't negotiate with people whose ideology you don't agree with, or
Is that what he said? Didn't Mosab? Yes, we agree. We agree that we did make peace, and Israel wants to make peace with them. But Hamas is different. It's exactly what we said. He's saying you can't make peace with anyone. That's what he's saying. Oh,
I mean, this guy either is completely stupid or and doesn't know how to listen, or he's just deliberately doing this. In any case, why in the world is this guy even being even given a platform? But Mosab Hassan Yousef said very clearly, that of course you can make peace, you can make agreements with those you disagree with. You can, however, not make peace with an organization that is hell-bent on simply wanting to eradicate you, which is what Hamas is.
I'm seriously hoping that the moderator says, Mosab, what do you think Cenk's weakest point is? Where do I begin? I'd love to hear, where do I begin? You pick anything, any word he said was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Pick one. Something like that.
you might even hate. So what? I don't care about their ambitions or ideology. I care about what do they agree to in a deal. And so if you said it that way, well, look, then I would say I'm going to eliminate the settlers. The settlers' ideology is that they own the land. God gave it to them. I think they're a bunch of lunatics, and I think that they've oppressed the Palestinians. I think their ideology is toxic. But of course I would negotiate with them.
All right,
Who else am I going to
Let me
negotiate
stop you there. Same question to you, Mosab.
What is this guy talking about? The settlers have nothing to do with with this conversation. They have nothing to do with the war. They have nothing to do with Hamas. None of this has anything to do with the topic at all. This guy is a complete imbecile. Go milk cows. Go eat food. Go I don't know, eat turkey. Go watch football or something. Don't talk politics, man. Get out of here. What an idiot.
I understood what he was saying. It's just his point was based on a straw man. He's saying my opponent says you don't make peace with enemies or with people when you disagree with their ideology. Well, I disagree with the ideology of the settlers, but I would still negotiate with them. What? It's still not a parallel. Imagine you had settlers who believe that they have to completely exterminate some group. Should that group that is on the receiving end of being completely exterminated, should they then be fine with that group and say, hey, let's come up to some, let's sit down at the table together when you want to exterminate us? It's a different situation. I would love to see him make a point where he actually gives a legitimate parallel, because every example he uses is nothing like what he's trying to explain.
That's a little bit hard to do when you're mentally deficient.
Turkish
opponent that you think is his weakest point.
Look, he's representing Hamas as a resistance movement that can be negotiated with. And I say Hamas is a Nazi ideology, worse than a Nazi ideology. And the leagues, the allies, did not negotiate with the Nazis. They killed millions of the Nazis. They destroyed Germany. And this is how we got eventually for a global peace.
Okay, I'm going to break in so that we can take time for our break. When we come back, we're going to go further into our question.
What? Actually, they did it first, and it didn't work.
And it was a giant disaster, which horrible. Is why they thought, okay, clearly this will not solve the problem, so war it is then.
Yeah, the negotiations see, with the when you're negotiating with Nazis, then you say, okay, what do you want? And they say, oh, we want this, we want Austria, we want this, and we want that. And they say, oh, okay, well, for the sake of peace, let's negotiate and give them what they want. Great. You just made them stronger. You've made yourself look weaker because you're just handing them everything they want, which sends a message to them for the future. And you've given them time. You've given them time to build up and become stronger and to consolidate their power and to prepare more. And then what's the result? Many, many, many more tens of millions of people died because you didn't deal with this quickly. You decided to just, let's just keep trying to work with them on this. What actually worked? Hassan pointed, you had to crush them. You had to go in and crush them. That's what you do with certain ideologies. That you have to crush them. That's it. That's all that works with certain things. Certain things are bad enough that all you can do is crush it. And I don't mean in the good sense, like I'm crushing it here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what they do. I'm guessing they're not going to have a break in this.
Can Israel make peace with Hamas? And if you're enjoying this debate,
why would they have a break after one side gave a 4-minute opening, the other side gave a 3-minute?
I want to let you know you can listen to hundreds more at opentodebate.org. Recent topics that we've taken on include things like, should Trump's convictions stand? Is Islam anti-Semitic? And is it okay to pay for sex? Many, many more. Please take a listen. I'm John Donvan. This is Open to Debate, and we'll be right back.
He just did it again. I'm John.
Welcome back to Open to Debate. I'm John.
And the big question before us is whether it's okay to pay for sex. That's a question I have.
That was so random. The topics. Whether
Trump's convictions
stand, whether Hamas and Israel can make peace, whether Trump's convictions should stand, whether Islam is anti-Semitic, and whether it's okay to pay for sex. Okay, one seems a little bit weird there.
Yeah, this is good. All right, so before we go on, I don't know if they're having rebuttals or open discussion or something like that. We'll find out in a couple seconds. Hey, Zane, thank you for gifting some memberships there, 5 memberships. I'll take a couple super chats and then we will see what they're doing. I do not know. I don't know if they have like official rebuttals with like timed responses or if they're just going back and forth. We'll see. We're about to find out. D. Wood, what is your thoughts on why God makes psychopaths, i.e. why an empathetic God would create humans without empathy? Love your content. God bless. Well, we're in a fallen world. You are not in heaven, DC 57. You're in a fallen world where things are run down, things wind down. You have all sorts of defects. So you could say that a psychopath is just basically someone who's defective in a certain way, like being born without an arm or something like that. You're born without parts of your brain working properly. If you wanted to say, hey, there can be a point to it, well, there can be a point to it, because it turns out psychopaths are good at dealing with certain things. In other words, it's good to have a psycho on your side sometimes. You're about to find that out the hard way, everyone. Knows too much says. Arab literally mean desert dweller, predates Arabic by centuries. Only due to brutal Islamic imperialism, people became pan-Arab and adopt Arabic equals Quran language. Arabic speakers is not equal to the ethnicity. That's true. That's true. The language and the ethnicity, two different things. Most Muslim Arabic Palestinians came into the land of Israel from neighboring lands and farther places, mostly in recent centuries. Yeah. That's true. Had a lot to do with the Ottoman Empire and so on. And then even in situations where they're saying, hey, there are a lot of Jews here, we need to bring in more Arabs to offset the Jews.
That's what they do.
The film The Green Prince 2014 is about Mosab Yousef's story. AP, do you think Iran will attack on Tisha B'Av?
I don't know. I don't know what Iran will do.
I don't think they will.
I think they should just call it quits and say, you know what, we're done with this whole project. We'll just give it over to our secular population and no more Islamic regime. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Iran realizes they've got too many enemies to deal with right now, and you do not need Israel escalating something and then bombing the crap out of you when you can't even control your own population right now. Good places to live in the U.S. for Christian musician. UK getting scary. Yeah, probably someplace like Nashville or something like that. Nashville, Texas, somewhere down south in one of the areas that are friendly to music. You have other places that are historically known for music, like Detroit. That's where Motown used to be. L.A. You have lots of musicians, but if you're specifically a Christian musician, you kind of don't want to go to some of the other areas and so on. So yeah, I'd go down south, someplace like Nashville or something like that. Greetings from Saudi Arabia. Hey, Kali. Good to hear you. Good to hear from you in Saudi Arabia. Super cool place. We love it. Mortal Wombat said, always amazing how much mind-numbing BS Mr. Yogurt Brain manages to fit into just a few sentences. Glad I stayed up for the stream, though. Love you guys. Greetings from Germany. Keep choosing the cow. Ooh. We got Saudi Arabia in the house. We got Germany in the house. We got the UK in the house. Israel in the house. That's why you need a roll call at the beginning of shows. Like call out where everyone's from. 9th of Av on Tuesday. Think something will happen. Is that what they're talking about? Is that the holiday that was just mentioned?
I don't know.
What is that?
Why are you asking me?
I'm just saying, is that the specific date that people are concerned about? 9th of
Why are you asking me?
I'm asking you. Oh, Tube of referred to as a holiday. Huh. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
But in Pakistan, they do other things to dogs. White Trash Panda, how did you not get John McCrae to appear in the Queers for Palestine Boom Boom Room as the angel Gabriel? Well, John played Gabriel. Well, he played the real Gabriel in a video, not the in our video. There's not a lot of continuity, but the angel Gabriel that Muhammad's actually familiar with, we had as Satan, and I played him. Yeah. So John played the real angel Gabriel. I played Satan, who's literally wearing a shirt that says, "Hi, my name is Satan," but Muhammad can't read it, and Muhammad thinks that this is the angel Gabriel. So yeah, you can see. Yeah, so that would have been me if we had decided to include the Gabriel that Muhammad is familiar with. Seen the Fallout show? No, I
Yes, I have seen it.
haven't.
It's pretty good.
Sounds like some nerd stuff. Yeah,
Pretty
when I
good.
saw the dead dog in the home of a family that had been raided by Hamas, I was even more upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember where they shot the dog that was running out to protect people, and
There were several of those where they shot dogs coming at them, or shot just dogs inside homes.
Mhm.
There's one where a dog is just dead, shot multiple times in a corner.
Yeah, and I mean, as messed up as that is, you at least understand it, right? You're a guy with a gun and a dog's running at you, or a dog is going to protect the family and stuff. So I mean, keep in mind how you take out the dogs because they will protect people. It's basically you're killing a dog because of its awesome nature and its loyalty to protecting people. And you're a killer. You want to kill the people. The dog will protect them. So you actually have to kill the dog. As far as I can, anyway, it's understandable if you're going in there to kill a bunch of people and there's a dog in the way. That makes sense. In Turkey, they're apparently torturing the dogs and stuff like that and hacking them up. And
But the situation in Turkey is that they're not doing it because of Islam, but you could say that Islam has a cultural influence there. It's because Turkey has a lot of stray dogs that have been out forever. Every city you go to has a stray dog problem. It's because it's not part of the culture to domesticate and to take care of dogs. And they just become wild and cause a problem, and become dirty and so on. And people have been discussing this forever and have been looking into alternatives of creating, safe places for dogs. But the government, of course, thought, we ain't gonna spend no money on them dogs. Dogs are filthy. Kill them all.
Yeah.
That's what they said in Turkey. So
they did. Anyway. So guys, you could actually have a dog problem, but you could deal with that humanely by putting them to sleep. You give them a little injection. They don't know what's going on, and then they fall asleep, and then they die. No, they're out there just mangling and chopping up dogs and stuff like that. Typical, what you'd expect from Turkey. Yeah, remember when we were in Israel and we were noticing all the cats all over the place? Everywhere we go, there were cats, and I was like, "Gosh, there's cats are all over the streets. It's like a rat problem." And then I realized, as soon as I said, it's like cats are the rats over here. And I realized, well, I've never seen any mice or rats. Whereas, I used to live in the Bronx. There's rats all over the place. There's rats everywhere. I mean, especially if you're going on the subway and stuff like that. There's just rats everywhere. And so I was like, oh. Would I rather have a cat problem or a rat problem? And I was like, well, I'd rather have a cat problem. I'd rather have a bunch of cats running around than a bunch of rats running around. So, I mean, maybe cities like New York and stuff should increase the cat problem specifically to deal with the rat problem.
Funny thing is, Istanbul also has a cat issue. There are cats everywhere.
Constantinople?
Constantinople has a big cat issue. There are cats everywhere in Constantinople, and you can't find many rats there. Yeah.
Israel, cost of construction includes safe room on every floor of apartment building. Gaza, cost of construction includes terror tunnels and terror bases under the building. And guys, we've talked about this before. The purpose of having the safe rooms on every floor of apartment buildings, which that's everywhere. That's everywhere you go. Houses, everything. They have safe rooms. What we saw, those are normally the kids' rooms. In other words, they put their kids in the safe room as their normal bedroom. That way, if there's an attack in the middle of the night, no one knows about it. Your kid's in the safe room. Your kid is safe. So those safe rooms, their primary goal is to protect the innocents. The terror tunnels, their goal is to protect the terrorists. They don't if the IDF is coming to an area, they don't bring the civilians down to the terror tunnels. They have said that. Hamas has said that. These are for us. These are for our protection. The citizens, the ordinary people, that's someone else's job. Even though these guys are the elected officials. Wild stuff.
Yeah, and this is not just an accusation that people make, not just an accusation that Israel makes, not something that we are just saying, not some propaganda. This is official official policy. And you can find it. We played it before. We looked at it before. But there was an interview immediately after October 7 where the interviewer asks the Hamas spokesperson and says, "You get so many funds with which you have built a massive tunnel system. Why are you not building shelters for the civilians to protect them from the war?" And the Hamas spokesperson says it is not our responsibility to protect the civilians. We have to invest the money so that we can build our tunnel system and safely fight Israel from these tunnels to achieve our goal. The civilian population is the responsibility of the United Nations, not our responsibility. We don't care, basically.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, if you really wanted to draw parallels, Hamas could have ended up being a completely different kind of group. They could have dug those tunnels, and they could have said, "Hey, we're going to invade Israel, and then there's going to be a backlash." So, guys, when the IDF is responding to our terrorist attack, we want all civilians, all women and children, down in these tunnels to keep you safe. While the rest of us, the actual fighters, we stay up here. We stay up here and we fight. That would be like what the IDF does, right? The IDF fights and they send everyone else to hide in shelters and to hide in safe rooms and so on. Hamas is the exact reverse. They run and hide in the tunnels, and they have the civilians. Up there where the IDF is coming. Why?
What are you doing to your mic, man? You sound like you're underwater again.
Check. You sound like you're in the water.
Now it's okay again. I don't know what's happening with you.
Yeah, I've told you before about. I thought it was my old. Desktop, but now I got a new, totally tricked out one. So I don't know what it is. I have a totally tricked out microphone. I have a Mac Studio, top of the line that you could possibly get. And still will have audio problems. I do not know. I'm guessing I have to run stuff through a soundboard or something like that, and that will make things better. Don't know. But we don't need you complaining nonstop. Just because your earphones distort things.
Yes.
Replaying in my mind that time Cenk yelled at Shmuley, "Bigot!" Like that settled it.
You bigot! You racist!
Well, it does settle it for the Young Turks crowd. Hamas MP Yunus al-Istal preached world conquest. No. Why would they do that? They want peace.
They would never do that.
Just for fun, what country do you think would be perfect to colonize and re-educate Gaza and the West Bank? Poland. I'm going to Poland.
I think a Mars colony would be good.
Poland. Colonize and re-educate Gaza and the West Bank. I'm going with Poland as my answer. Muhammad getting bit by dogs in the boom boom. Muhammad meets a dog. That one Jewish girl says, I'd literally marry Mosab if he asked. No joke. Dude is such a hero and makes me smile whenever I hear his accent. He is. He's a, I don't know. He's a cool dude.
He is.
He's just a cool dude. He's hilarious. He's hilarious while just being, he could be saying brutal stuff and simultaneously be hilarious. It's awesome. That is a quality you want to have. Yo, AP, Egyptian atheist is helping me learn Arabic.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
That would be good.
Nice. Egyptian atheist is a good guy. He's based.
He's vouched for by a Turkish guy. In the Palestine-Israel debate, Mizrahi Jews seem to be generally ignored, especially by the anti-Israeli side. Is that true?
It is very much true, yes. They focus only on Ashkenazi Jews and like, you're Europeans, go back to Europe. Totally ignoring the Mizrahis who have always been in the Middle East.
A couple more, then we'll jump back into this discussion to hear their responses. Any Mesli I talk here hates Israel and praise Hitler.
Based.
Yeah, that is becoming disturbingly common. Did you or will you ever do a stream about Ukraine? Interested in your takes on the Soviet Islamist thing, Putin, IRI, Israel, Saudi, peace, etc.
I talked about it here and there. I made tweets about it, but it's not really our thing. Right? So.
Yeah, not really our thing. In other words, it would be if we wanted to speak on it accurately, we'd have a bunch of stuff to learn, and we'd have to care about that situation enough to do all this stuff. When keep in mind, I'm not saying other people shouldn't. That could be for you, that might be the most important issue in the world, depending on where you're from. I tend to focus on just kind of a couple issues because other than that, I don't feel like I'm equipped to be responding to stuff. So there are other things that I focus on more, and I'll let people who focus on the war in Ukraine, there are tons of them, to comment on that more.
I do know quite a bit about the history of Ukraine and Russia and the conflict, and I also, I don't know, did care a little bit in the beginnings and commented on it here and there. I think since the Israel-Hamas war began, I have just been completely focused on this. But yeah, it's rather something that I would leave to others.
Yeah, on that issue, I'm similar to you. Like at first I was, and it's mainly because Russia is one of the places I really don't trust. And like in my head, Ukraine and Russia are pretty similar. But Russia looks like a place that wants to expand and would be a bigger threat to the world the bigger they become. And so I would like them to lose. I would like Russia and Putin to lose so that they get the idea out of their heads. With that said, the reason it's not an issue I focus on is there are lots of people who are focusing on that and addressing the topic. When it came to something like Israel and Hamas, there were just so many people blasting away and not enough people actually responding to this stuff that we kind of ended up focusing on that. So it's kind of there aren't enough people responding to this stuff, and therefore that'd be a good thing for us to do.
And the thing is also, I think it really surprised me how hostile people were toward Israel and how much they bought into the terrorist narrative when this war started. I would have been always in favor of Israel and defending Israel's right here, but I think seeing how messed up the discourse is around this has made me want to talk about this nonstop. Actually,
yeah, it's a completely different vibe, right? You have people who support Russia against Ukraine. You have lots of people who support Ukraine to defend themselves against Russia. You don't see a lot of people like, from the river to the sea, Ukraine will be completely wiped out and taken over and taken over by Russia. And so you don't see that. You do see it with Jews, and therefore just something we tend to focus on way more.
Yeah.
Here we go. 9th of Av is the day that both temples were destroyed. It's a sad day where Jews fast for 26 hours in one day. Will become a holiday once the third temple is built.
In one day, yeah, yes, in one day. Jews also fast 25 hours on Yom Kippur, for example, which is pretty based.
So that's this week, 9th of... No, it's not telling me. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's this week. Yeah, that's end of Monday through Tuesday. Okay. Yeah, so that is this week. Yeah. I do not think Iran will launch some big attack then. In Philippines, there is a dog problem, homeless. Yeah, as we pointed out, you can have an actual dog problem that you have to deal with. You can have a dog problem, but there are ways to do that without butchering and torturing dogs. Israel would be accused of genocide no matter what. I've often thought about that because we talk about, like, we wish Israel would put more emphasis on responding to a lot of the claims that go against them, like the Groypers and so on, when we're like, I'm over there shocked. Like, how are you guys not responding to this? Some of this stuff is so easy to respond to. Right here while I'm in Israel. So this is when I was in Israel. Like right here, I'm telling guys, right here while I'm in Israel, I'm getting messages from people saying, "Be careful, David, because they're all going to spit on you and do this stuff." And like, I have no idea. I mean, I know what you're talking about because there is a small sect that actually does that. They spit in the direction of certain Christian leaders as they're walking by them. But groups like the Groypers, they pass these around so much that people actually think, they actually could convince people that this is the way it is in Israel. I pointed out no one so much as looked at me wrong the entire time I've been there multiple times, let alone spitting on me and stuff. But you have all these people who are convinced that it happened. Anyway, I'm sitting there talking to people over there. It's like, you could respond to that very, very easily. Get some Christians to talk about what their actual lives are like and so on. And no one spits on them. And wait, I've been here in Tel Aviv. No one's ever spit on me in Tel Aviv my entire life. It's never happened and so on. Why are you not responding? It really seems like they've absorbed the idea over time. People are going to accuse us of stuff no matter what we do, and therefore, why would we even try to respond to this stuff? They're going to accuse us of genocide no matter what we do. Like, so it's like built in. What do we care if some idiots on Twitter are saying? I think they're wrong. I think they should be responding to this stuff. Anyway, it's just you can understand why they got the idea. Like, they're going to hate us no matter what. Why do we even try? We're saying no, you should, because the reason is there are some people who, if they're exposed to more information, more accurate information, would not hate you. In other words, there are people who are going to hate you no matter what. There are other people who aren't going to hate you if they actually are properly informed. So I would say for their sake, it would be good to respond to some of this stuff.
I mean, it's like the people in charge. The Israeli nation is a nation of humans in the end, and I mean, how long do you want to continue going on trying to make things right as much as possible, still receiving, still being attacked and massacred, threatened with genocide, still responding nicely, but still getting accusations of being the evil one and so on? At what point do you just think, you know what, we don't care, we don't care anymore. We will just do this our own way, and then. And we will no longer have to discuss with anybody anymore. I get it.
I read somewhere that Islamic countries during the Middle Ages did not have a plague problem like Europe did because of the cats keeping the rats away that carried the plague. That could be. I don't know about what it was like in the Muslim world, but yeah, Europeans were doing lots of trading with ships, and ships that are carrying things like grain and so on that show up, and they have the rats on there, and the rats are spreading the disease and so on. If you had a place, no, I'm not entirely. I don't know if you had a ton of cats. It's the fleas. It's the fleas on the rats that are actually passing around the disease. That's how it spreads to humans. You don't get bit by the rat. You get bit by the flea. So I don't know why cats wouldn't have the same issue, but yeah, I don't know.
I must say that I know it's going to sound offensive to some people, but during the plague, the Black Death, and others, Europe was significantly more affected than the Muslim world. The Muslim world was also affected. It did sweep through the lands and kill tons of people. They just didn't keep the record quite as straight as Europeans did. Europeans were always better at keeping things, at keeping the record. However, so the heat is one issue, I think, as far as I remember, which is one of the explanations of the causes why the Islamic world wasn't as affected. People staying further away from each other because of the climate in general, whereas in Europe people were often much more closer together.
Yeah, if it hits a city, if the plague breaks out in a city and it's a bunch of rats running around with fleas, that seems like it would affect a densely populated area. It's the same thing with like a disease. If a disease spread, it will spread very rapidly in a city, and not so much in like a desert area.
Yeah, but it also had to do with I don't know. I think religious rituals, washing rituals, and things like that actually made it worse for it to. They made it harder for it to spread in the Islamic world than it made it for to spread in Europe at that time, and so on. There are many different aspects.
Let's see. Hello, David and AP. I heard an argument by CP that Allah is actually the name for the moon god. A remark from IP seemed to dispute this. What are your thoughts? Well, I have to say, I only looked into this once a long time ago when it was presented to me in a booklet. I thought the case wasn't terribly interesting, or I wasn't terribly impressed by it. It was something like Allah, Alusa, and Manat are called the daughters of Allah over here. They're called daughters of the moon over here, and so moon god, and you've got the crescent moon as a symbol, and so on. So the bunch of little details like that. I have to say, Christian Prince knows way more than I do, especially on the Arabic sources and so on. So I don't know. But the other thing was, not terribly interested in it. It's like, what if you found some inscription that there were Israelites at some point and they bowed to Yahweh and they said he's the Lord of the moon or something like that. In other words, what if you found that? You'd say, okay, well, if people got the wrong idea about him at some point. In other words, I don't think a Muslim would be terribly bothered even if you show, hey, here's people who called Allah the moon god or something like this. It'd be like, oh, okay, if a bunch of pagans thought that and called him that, then who cares or something like that. So I never was terribly interested. With that said, again, CP knows way more than I do, so if he wants to do something with it, then that's fine. I've never seen much use for that as far as what I'm doing.
So Allah as the actual name of the moon god is not completely accurate. What is true is that so the Meccan polytheists did use the Kaaba for the god Hubal, who was their main god. And Hubal was associated with the moon, and you can find on older statues and depictions of Hubal. You can find the moon on top of Hubal and things like that. So there is some association with Hubal and the moon, where the moon is a sign of Hubal and all that. But Allah just is the word that they would use for the main God or the great God, the greatest God, and it's not something that those Meccan polytheists or the Arabs invented. It's pretty well established that it comes from the general Semitic Ilah, Elah, Eloh, where it then in the Arabic turns into an actual proper name, where El Ilah, so the God, combined turn into the proper name of the one God, the creator God, which is Allah, which is why it was also not a problem for Christians and others prior to Islam to use the word Allah to refer to the great God, the one God. The difference is just that they didn't use it as a name for that God, but just as a title, where Islam started using it as the name of this God, because Muslims didn't really know anything about the God that they were adopting. But yeah, so the whole moon god theory is a little bit, not too very strong.
So again, I didn't think it was very strong either, or a terribly interesting point. But if someone has an explanation of why it's stronger than I thought, then fine with that. Fine with people using it. Adam C keeps posting 1 + 1 + 1 equals question. Adam, you should have learned this in kindergarten, probably, but 1 + 1 + 1 equals 3. Hopefully you've learned, and
really
now you won't be so terribly confused.
Ooh, 3?
Yeah. Cam here says, you right if you talk about dogs in Islam. I think Islam will die because everyone loves dogs. So Cam here is pointing it out like this isn't actually this bothers lots of people if they find this out. And that's true. Maybe this, matter of fact, I had a guy came up to me in a conference, and it was right after I had posted a video about what Muhammad said about dogs. And the guy actually came up and he started crying, talking about how much he loved his dog and how messed up Islam is for saying kill dogs and so on. So yeah, maybe we do need to bring that up a bit more. Caleb here says, we'll do these two real quick and then we'll jump back into this video. I don't know if you saw Myron's tweet on August 9th. He is looking for a 2-on-2 Christian versus Muslim debate on Fresh and Fit. D Wood might be interested. He proposed hijab, dyer, and 2 more. I mean, one, I don't think hijab is going to debate with anyone knowledgeable anymore. He's moved past that. He had a handful of little tricks that he uses, and once people find those out, he's not going to want to show up anymore. So I don't think hijab will do it, but he might. They could get someone else. There are plenty of people. I would do it. I think there are better debaters out there than I am, like Dyer and IP. I don't know if they're on the same page on all their issues and stuff like that, but I'd say IP, something like that. What'd you say?
IP too. I'm just curious if they will also have. Will they also have like models with with their breasts out and all of that in the studio set while the debate is on?
You have to have the zaboobas all over the place, because why else is anything to watch? Isn't that crazy? It's like, if people are only tuning in because you got a bunch of chicks with their boobs hanging out all around, you're like, what's that say about?
And the thing is, why does a channel that is all about just inviting adult entertainment models specifically with their boobs all over the place, why are they hosting a conversation about religion? It's just
what do we have here? Adam C says D Wood just admitted 3. Lol. Yes. Yeah, I admitted basic arithmetic. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. What's your point, Adam? And Adam, try and make your point without sounding insanely stupid, which is how you sound now. You sound insanely stupid. You sound really, really, really dumb. AP, what's 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 all the way up to 114? Ones. What would they add up to? They would add up to what? They would add up to 114, right? No! 114 chapters, they add up to 1 Quran, you see?
Ooh.
AP, we've got 10 different authoritative qira'at that all have differences. They're all different. And yet, they're all 1. 10 = 1.
Oh.
10 = 1.
Whoa.
Gosh. Adam, make an actual point based on what you're saying. I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. Make a relevant point based on what you're saying, or I'm blocking you for just constantly distracting people when we're discussing Israel and Hamas and a debate, and you're just typing the same thing over and over and over again. Doesn't make it look. It looks like you're here to distract rather than to engage in anything. So I'm going to give you look at how generous I am. If you want to make an actual point, I'm giving you the opportunity to make it right now. It better be an actual relevant, coherent point that we can respond to, or I'm just blocking you for wasting time and trying to distract people. Let's see. Waiting. Gosh, I'm generous. All I do is invite these guys to make their points, as long as they're making points and not just trying to distract. And what do we get? We get nothing. Aaron says, guys, leave Adam alone. He's doing his elementary school homework. He's like, yeah, it says it right here in my little book. It says 1 + 1 + 1. What is it, guys? Let me type it in. This is Islamic Dawa. Everyone's like, this is so dumb, right, guys? This is Dawa. This is what the Dawa clowns have programmed these guys to think.
That's so good.
I'm still waiting.
Advanced mathematics.
Knox says, David, we have to uphold free speech. Come on, I do uphold free speech. That has nothing to... Free speech is your government not interfering with what you're saying. Like, so it's the opposite of what's going on in the UK, where you say the wrong thing, they come up and lock you up. Free speech is not, hey, any idiot who comes to your chat and tries to distract you, just put up with it forever. No, there's a reason we have controls over this kinds of thing. So that we can get rid of people. What's up?
I thought this is a free country. Why are you blocking him?
It's a free country. I'm oppressing this man and stopping his ability to speak. No one's stopping his ability. He can go around the world screaming 1 + 1 + 1 is question, all he wants. Okay. I don't see this guy. Here. Where is he?
This guy? You should go outside.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into more of this debate. We'll go a little bit more. I think we're going to find out really quickly if that's basically all Cenk is going to say, and that all he has is those stupid points. Let's see.
Van. We've got over 300 additional debates that you can dig into by going to our website, opentodebate.org.
Especially the one
you can
about
look at our special
whether you
election
can
series
hire
and many,
people
many
for
other
sex.
topics. Today we're taking on the question, can Israel make peace with Hamas? Our debaters are Cenk Uygur, who is host of the news commentary show The Young Turks, and Mosab Hassan Yousef, who is author and son of a co-founder of Hamas turned Israeli informant. In listening to your opening...
Hey, little side note here. This is what I'm talking about, right? So the guy posts 1 + 1 + 1. He just keeps spamming it over and over and over and over again, posting the same thing, until I say, "Hey, dude, I'll actually if you're trying to make a point, let me stop right here and I'll let you make the point." Then silence. Isn't that like insane? I'm going to keep posting this over and over. Why? It seems like you want attention. Then I say, "Okay, I'll give you attention. I'll give you some attention. What's your point? I'll put your point on the screen." And then it's, "No, I don't want to say anything." That's so weird to me, man. It's like, I want attention. Okay, what do you want to say? I'll share it with everyone. What do you want to say? No, I don't want to say anything. A bunch of clowns, man.
Arguments. What I'm hearing you say, Cenk, fundamentally is that, yes, you can make peace with your enemy because making peace with anybody else doesn't make sense, and that it has happened multiple times, including in the example of Israel, having made peace with Egypt and additionally with Jordan and with...
It's going to be annoying if this guy talks as long as they do in describing their stuff. Come on.
The PLO.
That's what people think about us. Hey, David and AP, why are you guys talking so much? Well, people are clicking on our channel because they're here to see us commenting on stuff in addition to what we're commenting on. No one is here for you, dude.
Watch the
no
video,
one is
just go watch the video. That's not why we're here.
Yeah. No one is here for you, dude. That dude. No one is here for you. People who clicked on your video were not clicking on it for your commentary on the debate. They were clicking on it for Cenk Uygur versus Mosab.
In the 1990s. And you're saying that there's no reason that can't happen again. Mosab, you're saying there's very much a reason that can't happen again. You're saying that Hamas is...
Pause. Bible Care and Share Fellowship said, David, he was mocking the Trinity. We know. But it's It's a stupid way to do it, and it's based on a person being an idiot that he would think that is actually a response to the Trinity. So I offered him the opportunity to actually explain his point. How do you think 1 + 1 + 1 equals question is a response to the Trinity? Gave him the opportunity. What happened? No response. Why? He hasn't gotten past that stage. He hasn't gotten to the stage where you can actually make a coherent point out of it or even attempt to do so. He's just been programmed by Dawa clowns to run around going 1 + 1 + 1. So we make fun of it. Gave him the opportunity to make a point. He made no point. Why? Because there's no actually legitimate point there.
A different kind of organization, that its ideological motivations make it a distinctive kind of challenge for negotiation, unlike the PLO, which was a nationalist organization.
How long is this guy going to talk?
Islamists are fired by religion and have aspirations.
Yes, we heard what they said.
Would not be satisfied by any kind of negotiation.
We literally just heard it, and it was short.
I want to take the question.
And no one was confused.
To you, Cenk.
Except Cenk.
The fundamental point that Mosab is making is that Hamas is different. That it's not just that they have these goals of completely destroying Israel, is that they're fired by religion, that those things can't be moved, that it's an ideological, not a nationalist kind of organization. What about that?
Yeah, it's as if we haven't lived in the world. There's been extremist ideologies throughout history, and we've eventually had to negotiate with all of them. And the reason we were at war or conflict, different civilizations and nations, is because they were extremists, and that's who usually sometimes creates conflict. So that's who you have to negotiate with. So I'll give you many examples. Shia and Sunni.
What's that?
Should we make peace with ISIS? Should
we
recognize ISIS and make peace with them? Cenk.
Yeah, and think about what that would look like. And here's why, guys. When you say, hey, we don't want to crush ISIS, we want to negotiate with them and find a peaceful path forward. What's going to happen? In order for ISIS to agree to things with you, you're going to have to hand them stuff. They're going to make demands. They're going to say, hey, if you don't want us attacking this place over here, here's what you have to do. Give us $10 billion. We won't go attack that place. And
this is why I can't
funded
take it
ISIS.
Mm-hmm. I can't take it seriously when this guy sits there and says, I think it was horrific what Hamas did on October 7th. And of course I condemn them. No, you don't. Just shut up, man. You are still legitimizing them and treating them as if they were an organization that you could actually make peace with, and not a vile terrorist organization which has no regard for human life, and which is as barbaric and disgustingly evil as it gets.
And by the way, as we pointed out, yes, people have made peace with certain enemies in the past. It's happened. Not enemies like Hamas. There are certain enemies that you just crush, right? I mean, you can just imagine Cenk, if he were around right in the middle of World War II. Why aren't you just negotiating? Why aren't you just negotiating with the guy? Come on, he's got a little mustache. Why don't you just negotiate? I'm all about peace. Think about all the people. What a dope, man.
The extremists in Iraq.
Appeasement. That's called appeasement. That's what Chamberlain did when he approached Hitler and said, maybe we can come to an agreement. Maybe if we just, agree and give him part of Czechoslovakia, maybe things will be okay. He'll calm down and all that. Mm-hmm. And what happened? He took that, and then he was like, okay, now the next goal. And then the next, and then the next. And then the UK realized, all right, appeasing seems to be the very, very wrong approach. It just backfired on us. Now it's time for war.
Just
same thing with Hamas. Yeah.
And then you've got places like the Soviet Union. They find out, hey, we make an agreement with these guys, and they might just attack us anyway.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they didn't want any permanent peace with us. They were just using that so they had a one-front war and didn't have to deal with us, and that they had no real goal of being peaceful with us at all.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
We wound up negotiating with them at different times in our occupation of Iraq because that's who was bombing us. And so if you want to talk about extremist ideology, imagine if Hamas thought, hey, you know what? Not only should we capture the Jews, but we should keep them. And every once in a while, if they don't obey us, we should rip their skin off them. And maybe we should hang them by...
Listen what he just said. How he just said the Jews.
If they wanted to capture them and...
He just said the Jews. He didn't even say Israelis. He said the Jews. He knows exactly what Hamas actually is and what they actually believe in, and yet he is still here proposing that there should be some peace agreement with these rats. This guy, he's not ignorant. He knows very well what Hamas actually is and what they preach and what they believe in. That this guy is just being, he's doing their service for them. He's being the peaceful guy, the supposed good cop here, while the terrorists are aiming to eradicate the Jews. He's like, yeah, how about you just try to make peace with these guys who want to eradicate the Jews?
Noose and then burn them and sell their babies and rape their women, all their women. You know who believed in that ideology? The slave owners in the South, the Confederacy here in America believed in that. And that was so extreme that if somebody was doing it now, you would say, you can't possibly negotiate with those people. Those are the worst people on earth.
Okay, let's see your response to that.
Look, if somebody want to cancel my right to exist, I will never sit down on the table with them and give them any form of recognition. There is no dialogue with someone who wants me to cease to exist. End of the story. Hamas wants the destruction of Israel. They don't want the land. They don't care for the land. It's basically like someone entering the negotiating room and saying, let's negotiate. But after this, I'm going to shoot you in the head. So what's the point of the negotiations? If tomorrow you're going to kill my children, if the day after you're going to attempt to annihilate me, then what's the point? Yes. Israel tried many times to extend their hand. For example, my father was one of those people in the prisons and outside the prisons, abroad, to find a common ground with Hamas. But Hamas totally rejected the existence of the State of Israel. The best they could offer to the negotiating table, a truce, that is limited to 10 years. This is what they offered Israel, that we give you a truce for 10 or 15 years, but after that, we don't know what we will do. What kind of negotiations is this? What type of dialogue is this?
By the way, people don't realize what he just said as far as, hey, we are only going to allow a 10-year truce. That's exactly what you read in certain Muslim commentaries. Remember, recently you had Muhammad Hijab, and he was supposedly explaining difficult Quran verses, and he was asked about Surah 9, verse 5, and we read through Ibn Kathir's commentary to show that Muhammad Hijab was completely off in what he was saying. But as far as Ibn Kathir was saying, that Surah 9 completely canceled any just unspecified in duration peace treaties. In other words, if you said, hey, we're at peace until you violate the peace. But other than that, it's indefinite. Said Surah 9 canceled that. There is nothing. But you have Muslim commentaries that say that the maximum duration for a peace is 10 years. Yeah. You can only allow a 10-year peace because your goal in having the truce is not to have lasting peace. Your goal is for you to build up your strength so that you can attack them eventually and be stronger next time. And that's why you don't do any permanent peace arrangements with people. But I mean, think about this: you have Hamas doing exactly what you find in the Muslim commentators. We cannot agree to a permanent peace. It's not going to happen. We'll agree to a 10-year truce while we keep having children and keep indoctrinating them and keep getting weapons and keep getting billions and billions of dollars in aid, and we build a bunch of tunnels. And so next time we'll be ready. And so he's saying that's why are you negotiating with these people? Their goal is to destroy you. By the way, you know what that just reminded me of? That you basically got Cenk there, and Cenk is saying, "Whoa, it doesn't matter if they want to annihilate you. Think about people in the South. Think about the United States and slavery." Right? Yeah. There you're dealing with people who, keep in mind, you had people who changed their minds over time, but you also had them crushed, right? You had to fight a war over it to get these guys under the control of the government so that you could say, no, these slaves are free. You had to crush them, Cenk. You could have sat down. In other words, AP, do you think negotiations would have solved that problem? The South gave up on a political solution. Look, we're separating. We're separating. Is that when you sit down and say, okay, let's negotiate through this? People got crushed. That's how it worked. So he keeps bringing up these examples that don't make the point that he thinks, and it's got this stupid thought. But what him saying that, it reminded me of, remember Patrick Bet David, when he wanted to have this, let's get Christians and Muslims together in the room so that we can all find out our common ground, and then we can unite against the LGBTQ stuff. What are we going to do? Let's do that. He brings them in there, and one side says, we want to kill you. Yeah, we want to kill these guys. We want to kill both these guys that we're talking to right now. And then he goes, all right, so you guys want to kill you, and you guys are bothered by that a bit. But hey, let's talk about how we can deal with Dylan Mulvaney. But it was that same situation. Like, what are you talking about? They want us dead. They want us dead. And you're saying, how can we work together? Zero interest in working together with these guys who want to kill us. That if they ever get their way, they kill us. I'm not interested in negotiating with them, working them, collaborating with them. They want me dead. That is a deal breaker, permanent deal breaker until they come off that view.
But why? I'm sure we can talk about the LGBTQ plus stuff, and I'm sure we can find something we can agree on. This is just... This is a complete detachment from reality, a complete inability to read the room, whatever you want to call it. So out of touch with actual problems that we're dealing with. This is actually what angers me sometimes, and I don't know how to express it about, especially when we talk politics in America. Everything is always like these tiny little non-issues that are not real problems in the rest of the world are being talked about, and then when we talk about something like apostates being executed, for example, or Hamas wanting to wipe out the Jews, we're talking about okay, I see, but how about let's talk about things we have in common. I'm sure we can figure something out. It's like you're trying to talk to children, but you don't actually have children at the table. You just don't know how to talk to adults. That's what it looks like. People have real problems in the real world. Cenk Uygur is one of these examples here. Just the example that he brings up, and he does this so often when he has discussions with people. He immediately starts going to, and this reminds me of Donald Trump. This reminds me of the Republicans and the Democrats, and this reminds me of this of the abortion issue, and this reminds me of slavery. I want to say something to all of this, to all of these America-centric people with the America-centric perspective. The world does not give a toss about your America problems. Okay, you might think because you're having these discussions all the time with other Americans, and because there are so many Americans, and you think this matters to you on a daily basis, you might think this is a fantastic thing to talk about. Of course, this is what matters. The world does not care about all your American issues. When you speak about a matter that concerns a different place in the world, when you speak about an international crisis, an international matter, nobody gives a crap about your Democratic Party, your Trump, your slavery, your Republicans, your abortion issue, your LGBTQ stuff. Nobody cares, okay? We're talking about a completely different problem. When you suddenly switch to talking about, and this is just like in the South, just shut up and leave the room. You have no business there. You're a child. Go talk to children. Go to kindergarten. Talk to little kids.
Just looked up the quote. This is from Thomas Sowell. In his essay, in his book, Is Reality Optional? 1993. 1993. Talking about over 30 years ago. He said, much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has been a history of replacing what worked with what sounded good. We replace what works with what sounds good. He goes, in area after area, crime, education, housing, race relations, the situation has gotten worse after the bright new theories were put into operation. The amazing thing is that this history of failure and disaster has neither discouraged the social engineers nor discredited them. In other words, so we had things that work, and then you have a bunch of people who stand up and say, hey, here's how things work in my head. Let me put the ideas in my head into the world. And every single time these guys do this, it ends in disaster. They make things worse. And he's pointing out, it doesn't stop them from doing it and just keep continuing to do it. Oh, okay, here's my new idea. Okay, well, your last 20 ideas ended in complete disaster and failure. So why aren't you starting to doubt whether the thoughts in your head would actually be good for the world? But that's what Cenk sounds like to me. It's like, but here's how things work in my head. So how do things work in my head? It's like Jordan, get a pen pal. That's how things work in my head, because that's how, that's been my experience. If I start a pen pal relationship with someone, then I start liking them more. So why couldn't that bring peace? Okay, it does, because it doesn't work like that. But you've got Cenk here, and keep in mind, it makes perfect sense in his head. And guess what? You can make things make sense in your head. Here's how it works. Israel goes and they sit down with Hamas at the table and they eat a bunch of falafel and they all get along and they start having fun and high-fiving each other, and then everyone goes and lives in peace. Yeah, you can make sense in your head. You can say it in your head. It has no correspondence to the real world. And when you say, hey, here's how things work in my head, so let me tell everyone that that's how the world is supposed to work. Fortunately, I don't think anyone's going to be implementing any of Cenk's plans, so that's the only positive here. But if someone were to come along, there's no way this doesn't just end in ridiculous disaster and tons of more dead people.
That's pretty racist.
Yes, Cenk is.
Okay, so first of all, the right to exist, I find this to be the most ironic point that the Israeli side makes. So they say, we are not allowing Palestine to exist. We've occupied them for 57 years. And now Netanyahu's government says, I will never allow them to exist. And then turns around in the next sentence says, Can you believe they don't want us to exist? I mean, that's patently absurd. You do exist.
This guy's an
There's
idiot.
nothing they could do about your existence. You're backed by the largest military in the history.
Insanely stupid.
Please pause. Anyone who has any understanding of the history would laugh at this and think, what an absolute imbecile. What an absolute child. Right? The history here is quite clear. You have the Zionist movement trying to re-establish the Israeli state, and the Zionist movement says we want to coexist with the Arabs.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make this work somehow.
The goal.
Initially, the idea is just create one giant entity. Let us coexist. We want to make this work. It doesn't happen. The other side repeatedly shows that they do not even want Jews to have any autonomy or anything at all. They want all of the land, and they want Jews to be subjects or completely leave or die. Eventually, when the Europeans say, you know what, we tried everything, here's the solution: 2 states, Jewish state, Arab state, accept it or not, we are leaving. The Jewish side, the Zionist side, said, okay, this is not really what we wanted. However, it's at least something, so we will accept it. We will accept it. We will declare our own Jewish state. And we are ready to recognize and to work toward a bright future with our neighboring Arabs once they declare their own state. This is what the Zionists said. The Arab side said, nope, we're not accepting this plan. Let's get in touch with our Arab nations and prepare them for war. And then they started fighting, and as soon as Israel was declared, the Arab nations invaded Israel with the aim of completely destroying and taking the land, and once again turning Jews into little subjects who can be kicked around under the Muslim Arabs. And if you read the headlines from back then, the headlines even say Arabs invade Palestine, because Palestine then, the first actual Palestine was Israel. It was the Jewish state. The Arabs didn't accept it. They united with the other Arabs and attacked to annihilate this Jewish state. So, to Cenk's point here, who is stupid enough to make such a horrendously idiotic point. If Israel, if everything went exactly as the Jews or as the Zionists or Israel wanted from the beginning, the most likely outcome right now would be that there would be 2 neighboring states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, that are totally in peace with each other. That was the actual goal of the Zionists, the final goal. If the Arab side, however, decided, no, we will never accept this, we will destroy the other side. Had the Arabs never fought, there wouldn't be a war today, and Israel would be recognizing the existence of this Arab state. So who is at fault? Is it Israel or the Arab side? It is the Arab side, 100%. And if you disagree with this, then you are an idiot. That's it.
And I would say, if I had to respond to him, I would point out he's equivocating. That was equivocation on what you mean by exist. He's saying, but Israel doesn't allow the Palestinian state to exist as a state. And they said they're not going to. So they don't think they can exist. That's not what we're talking about. When Hamas doesn't want Israel to exist, they want it wiped out. They want it wiped out. Men, women, and children. Is that what Israel wants? Is that what Israel wants in return? No. They don't want to wipe out. They don't want to wipe out all the men, women, and children. They don't want to. They try to avoid that like crazy. You're talking about 2 different things. So guys, follow his reasoning. He's saying, everyone's complaining that Hamas says that Israel has no right to exist because in Islam you have to completely exterminate the Jews, and that we're making that the goal. And they're saying, but Israel thinks that the Palestinian state doesn't have a right to exist. You could have they could have a Palestinian state. They could have it. What Israel's doing is you can't have a state when all you're going to use that for is a base of operations to carry out your goal to genocide us. You can't do it. Why? Because as soon as we say you're your own independent state, what happens? All these people and all these nations from around the world who have been encouraging you to come exterminating us, then they're just going to flood you with even more money and weapons than they ever have before. And we would have no say. We would have no say in it because you're your own separate nation. I'm saying we can't allow that until you guys change and drop the goal of exterminating us. You can't have a state if your goal is to exterminate us, and recognizing you as your own state would only help you carry out the extermination of us. We're not doing that. We're not helping you exterminate us. We're not. To say that that's the same as Hamas wanting to wipe out Jews everywhere is just insane. And I'm like, dude, the dude is, I don't even want to listen to the dude anymore. It's like stupid. It's like stupid and insane. And every single sentence out of his mouth is completely illogical, completely out of touch with reality, and just stupid. But let's see. Let's probably go through Mosab makes another point and then close it at that, because this is just annoying.
History of humanity. But meanwhile, you are literally preventing the state of Palestine from existing. And then you say that is such an evil concept that you cannot even negotiate with it. But that's the concept that you not only believe in, but you're in the middle of doing right now. And nevertheless, I would negotiate with Israel. Even though they have prevented the Palestinian state from existing, even though they have oppressed and occupied. And then this whole idea of, oh my God, these people are uniquely anti-Semitic. What did you think was going to happen? I hate that they're anti-Semitic, but if you occupy someone for 57 years, did you think they were going to love you? And then go, oh.
Pretty funny. He thinks that's the root of the anti-Semitism in Islam.
Thanks for going there, Cenk. We all know that they are not anti-Semitic because of occupation or anything like that.
Yeah.
They were anti-Semitic long before that. In fact, the leadership of the Palestinian Arabs before the creation of the modern state of Israel was already all about fighting the Jews and following the promise of Allah to eventually fight and kill the Jews. This is why they never were able to make peace with them and never able to imagine a state where they would live together as equals.
And he keeps saying, we can negotiate. I would negotiate with them. I'd negotiate with them even if I disagree with them. The topic isn't can you negotiate with someone, Cenk. It's whether Israel can make peace with Hamas. Can you make peace with someone whose primary objective is to exterminate you? Could you negotiate? Of course you could negotiate, and they do. They negotiate for things like prisoner swaps and stuff. They do negotiate. They do negotiate with Hamas. We're not talking about whether you can negotiate. Can you make peace with a group that wants to exterminate you? You're not answering that, Cenk. And every example you give is stupid and has nothing to do with anything and shows that you're a dope.
Yes,
well, maybe Cenk can be the intermediary and can can make the peace once he is president of the United States of America.
Yeah, everyone vote for Cenk so he can put his great ideas into practice, because you know this guy would be a very wise ruler, considering anything you bring up, he makes some ridiculous comparison to something that has nothing to do with it.
Years of brutal occupation and humiliation and endless slaughters. Oh, I expected them to love the Jews. And if they don't, then I'm never going to speak to them. I'm never going to allow them to have a state. But my God, my feelings are hurt because the other side also doesn't want me to exist. It's patently absurd. The only reason you would say crazy things like that is if you never wanted a peace deal in the first place.
I really so bad.
People don't want a peace deal. That's why they just want endless war with their enemies. You just don't want peace. That's the reason. So what did he just say, guys? He just said Israel. The problem is Israel doesn't really want peace. They don't. He just said
I so badly want to have a discussion with this guy. I so badly want to have a debate with this guy, or just a discussion with this guy, and just put him on the spot on precisely his completely absurd, completely ridiculous representation of this entire conflict. Man, I dream of the day. I hope it will happen.
No, he will humiliate you. But think about just what we listened to his opening statement. It was, I can't think of, and guys, I can be listening to someone and say, okay, this guy's presentation is dumb, but he makes an important point here. He makes a good point there. There's not one sentence this guy says that makes the slightest bit of sense to anyone who's not a complete moron. Oh boy, what is this? Let's see. Come on, Mosab, say something
you're
good.
building your argument on the false narrative of occupation.
Okay.
So this whole story of occupation and the victim mentality and why they are entitled for revenge and inflicting pain on Israel and destruction on a peaceful communities because they have been occupied. But then we say, did Palestine ever exist? No, it didn't. It was not a country. It's not a people. It's not an ethnic group. It's not a race. It was just a colonial entity created by the British.
Yeah.
Then it was terminated in 1948 when the Jews had the right to declare their independence. They did. But
What? Cenk is sitting there taking notes. Look at that. Glad you're taking notes there, Cenk. I hope you're learning something because you've apparently never learned the basics of the basics about this conflict here.
I can tell you what he's writing down. He's writing down, this man is a bigot and a racist, and I don't like him. He reminds me of Donald Trump.
He's writing down, this man says that you should never negotiate with anyone for any reason. I can't believe he's saying this in my mind.
Arabs refused. There weren't Palestinians at that time. The Palestinians were Jews, Arabs, Druze, Christians, everybody who lived in that territory during the colonial era. All of them were called Palestinians. It's created by the British. It was not a country. It was not like an ethnic country, an Arab country that was called Palestine. So if this is the truth of the situation, then there is no such thing as occupation. Yeah. And the entire tale that you are building on the occupation allegation is false.
So we're not strictly debating whether the...
Was he doing that on purpose? Did you hear those bars?
What?
If this is the situation, there's no such occupation, and it's ridiculous. These allegations.
Maybe he should be writing the chants for people, because it's been brought up numerous times. The pro-Palestinian group is the best at coming up with chants and so on. True. They are good at that, and the opposition just for some reason isn't as good at it. So maybe they should have Mosab coming up with their stuff. All right, I'm not interested in anything that Cenk has said. I am interested in what Mosab is saying, but I'm pretty sure we have an idea of what Mosab is going to be saying. Let's just go to Mosab's concluding remarks. So this is at the end. I guess they have a minute or two. Yeah, it looks like they have about a minute at the end. Okay, so we'll let Mosab. We'll see what Mosab has to say here at the end. What is his takeaway after sitting down for an hour with Cenk Uygur?
Wow.
Wow. He started off with wow.
The entire foundation of this conflict is based on a false narrative. And the false narrative begins with Palestine. The most important question of this century, of our time, that we need to answer, everyone needs to answer. What is Palestine? We need to find out where did that originate from, and the Palestinian ideology, what it really means, what can satisfy it. And if the Arabs have been hijacked by the what's so-called Palestinian cause, the moment we are able to find the origins of this conflict, then we will find the answers. I don't think Israel has a problem with the Arabs as an ethnic group. I think Arabs, Jews, Persians in the region, then they can get along. The Jewish people can get along in every country. We have them all over the world. They are non-violent people, and they are very creative, contributing to life in every field. Now, the Arabs and the Jews can get along because we have a model that is successful in Israel. The Arabs in Israel are a very important part of the state. They are citizens of the state of Israel. They serve in the army. They are part of the social fabric. And this is a living example that Arabs and Jews can get along.
Guys, I'm going to let him continue here, but don't miss that point. Israel, he just said, Israel actually has a model for how different groups can live together. You've got Christians and Jews and Druze and Arabs, tons of Muslims, and they're all living together there. That should be taken as a model for how to make things work. You know, it's not a model for how things work, whatever Hamas is doing. In other words, you cannot have that. You can't have that. Jews, Christians, Muslims all living together in harmony using the Hamas mentality. It's something that can't happen.
There is no country where Arabs are in charge and Jews peacefully, nicely can coexist. Yet you have Israel, where there is a huge Arab population. They're 20% of the population. 20% of the population. And they live in peace. They have equal rights. Despite everything, they have equal rights. It works with Israel. So maybe all of this was a mistake, and all of this should just be Israel. Israel should be in charge of all of it. That's it.
That is the Apostate Prophet peace plan, ladies and gentlemen.
Now,
It's the
Palestinian ideology, this is delusional. It's a very dangerous, violent ideology that kept developing to a very dangerous state. And today is the time for the world to question this ideology. What do they want? What's their agenda? What's their ultimate goal? Is it to build a Palestinian state, or is it to destroy the state of Israel? If we are able to answer these questions, then we may be able to provide a solution soon, hopefully, for this endless conflict.
Thank you.
Good point there at the end. What is their goal? Is it to build a Palestinian state for the good of the people there? Or is the goal to destroy Israel, and a Palestinian state is just a stepping stone to your real goal of exterminating Israel? So it looked like what he was saying there at the end is, hey guys, when you get to a point where you just want to live in peace as a state, when that becomes your real goal, you'll have it. When your goal is still ultimately to destroy Israel, and the idea of a state is just a stepping stone to get you there, then it's not going to work, and no one should allow it.
Precisely. He said it very well. There was nothing to add here.
No, that's what I mean. I didn't see what he was going to say, but I knew he was going to. He's got that ability to just zero in on like the most important thing he can bring up and bring it up in concise fashion and so on. So anyway,
he knows what's up. He really has he has it. He has what it takes.
WhatsApp? You say he knows WhatsApp?
Yes, he knows WhatsApp. He knows what's up, and he has the ability to talk properly about this conflict, unlike many people out there.
Yeah,
his voice is so much needed.
Very important. My goodness. Need another 10 like him. Hey, talking to you, all you young guys who grew up in Hamas. We need more Mosabs. So
yes.
Get out of it, renounce it, start working for Israel and so on, to bring down Hamas, because that bringing down Hamas and exposing the ideology that leads to the endless cycle of violence, that's the way. That's the way.
Give up the idea of that you will one day, that you will, have a bunch of Jewish, beautiful Israeli captives, and they will serve you, and Hamas will give you a prize for taking those captives. Will give you $10,000 in the house. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
The last guys who did that with that promise, see what happened to them. Now they have.
You want to see?
There are no homes that they can.
You want to see what happened to them? Want to see what happened to them? Huh? What happened to them? What happened to him? You see the sticker? It says eliminated. What happened? What happened to this guy? What happened to this guy? Oh, you see? These are the guys. These are the guys who thought that would work out well for them last time. And now they're dead.
You know what makes me
getting a pitchfork rammed into their butt in hell.
Any other nation, any other country wouldn't have to talk about this and justifying their fight against a group like Hamas. It would be totally understood, and they would be supported in their fight against such a genocidal, brutal terrorist organization. It is only Israel of whom it is expected to justify all of this. Mm-hmm. And that makes me sick.
Yep, and that means there are a lot of people who are anti-Semitic and don't realize it. When they think, what are you talking about? I'm just protesting all the horrible things that Israel did. No, you're holding Israel to a completely different standard from everyone else. So why is that? Why is it? All right, let's take these remaining super chats. Guys, there is a link. You might have to refresh because I added it as we were talking, but I put a link to the full debate if you want to watch the stuff in the middle that we didn't get to. But the full debate on the channel, what is it? Open to debate or whatever. Yeah, that's in the description box if you want to check out the full debate. Yaron says, in Judaism, Baal's real name is Haballah. Huh, that's interesting. Well, then it might be because they also had Hubal. They had Hubal in Arabia that was considered the chief deity. I wonder if those are connected. We gotta sit down with someone like Michael Brown, who knows, who has a background in all the relevant languages. Northern Israel under rocket attack while Iron Dome seems to not be working well.
Yeah.
Is it not working well?
I don't know. They have been having trouble with Hezbollah. Hezbollah launches 30 rockets into Israel. No casualties reported. IDF.
Well, if it's no casualties, then I'd say it's working pretty well. I mean, just imagine.
They have largely evacuated much of a huge strip at the border with Lebanon. Israel evacuated them and relocated them to different places because of this war. See, this is one of those examples where Israel is actually taking care of the safety of their own population, unlike Hamas that would probably line them up there.
Probably move. All, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hamas. We want all women and children to report to the front lines on the border as it's being bombed, and die there, please. Yeah, guys, you'll get to spend eternity deflowering virgins. So, jump on that.
Inshallah. Yep.
Stupid nonsense. Yeah, the thing about the Iron Dome is, that's not infinite. It's not infinite. So, in case anyone knows, it's not an actual dome, right? It's a missile defense system and so on that works pretty well. But that stuff costs a lot of money, and keep in mind, every rocket you intercept, you have fewer. In other words, you can exhaust the supply. Other people will keep sending more and so on, but I think that's part of the goal with Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas is we can deplete their supply, we can weaken this, and then what are they going to do? I think it's something like that.
Look here, this is the data that you get when you look for how much it costs for Israel to use the Iron Dome. It costs for Hamas or Hezbollah to fire their usual rockets, which they're firing. It usually costs about like $300 or so a round, because it's garbage what they're firing. Mm-hmm. But for Israel to intercept one of those, it costs somewhere between 20,000 and 100,000, mm-hmm. just for each missile.
Yeah.
So
that's the point. We can make you spend a lot more money, as far as the thinking of a group like Hamas or Hezbollah. We can make you spend way more money than we have to spend in attacking you, and hopefully eventually deplete your resources for this. Rough situation. But I mean, keep in mind, that's what Israel's surrounded by, and they're constantly told, what? Just ceasefire. Like, it's on you. Yeah. It's on you. These guys all want to completely wipe you out, and they're going to keep doing it until you crush them. But don't crush them. Don't do it.
They have been. Israel has been working forever on a different system that is called the Iron Beam system, I think, which would be lasers. So a laser defense system against rockets, which would be very, very cost efficient, would cost much less per rocket to intercept than the Iron Dome system. I think it's not as secure, but it's much more consistent and would cost literally nothing to intercept one rocket. Which the funny thing is, people were joking about Jewish space lasers, and there you have it. See,
that was the idea, but with the so way back in the first Gulf War, Saddam was launching Scud missiles, and the U.S. was shooting them down with Patriot missiles. And I think I think it was like $1 million for a Patriot missile. So every time a Patriot missile took down one of these Scud missiles, it was like $1 million. So the Scud missiles weren't doing anything; they were getting shot down, but it was like massively expensive. This is the United States. The United States can spend a ton, but in the 80s, they got into the Star Wars program, which was this idea. Some people think it was all a ruse, but the U.S. said we're going to have this Star Wars program where we have this system. We have this system of various satellites up there and so on, and eventually, in the case of a nuclear attack, it will shoot all this stuff down. And some people think that it was a game back then. In other words, it was something like Ronald Reagan sitting down saying, you know what? If we start building up stuff for space, the Soviet Union's going to try to keep up with us. Only problem is they don't have money. We have endless trunks of money. And therefore, if we get into a building competition for building stuff in space, they're eventually going to go bankrupt and we win. And the Soviet Union did collapse. So anyway, that's a theory. I've heard that as a theory. I do not know the details or whether that is accurate. But yeah, let's get some Jewish space lasers to shoot those things down.
Inshallah. Finally, that woman's theory about Jewish space lasers will come through. True.
In continuation, the Cold War connection to the IL-Arab conflict is not discussed since Putin and Xi support Iran. So glory to Ukraine. I hope Ukraine wins. Have you seen they've been invading Russia in return now?
It was hilarious. And after the first incursion into Russia, the Russian Defense Ministry said that it is an unacceptable escalation on the part of Ukraine.
What are they doing? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? They've taken a page out of the Dawa handbook. We keep attacking you until you respond, and then we're victims. What are you doing here? What? How dare you?
They actually said that. So Russia made a surprise invasion into Ukraine. Of course, they thought, this is going to be over very, very quickly. It's just going to be over very quickly.
It will be over in 2 days.
Destroy Ukraine. 2 days, maybe 3 days. It will be done. It will finish. Vladimir Putin has promised us. But then it didn't work out. And now they have been invading and bombing forever. And now that Ukraine actually made an incursion into Russia, they're like, what? Why are you doing this?
It is funny. So Mark H says, David, will you mail peace with Mike Winger? No, I will not mail peace with Mike Winger. Were you not paying attention to this entire discussion? We're saying, yes, you can make peace with certain people, certain groups. Some people are so despicable in their agenda that you just can't. So no, there will be no peace. I will crush him. You see, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Get owned, you Jew. Good response. That's there you have it from Adam C. Stop stuttering. Stop stuttering. We'll try. Why are you stuttering? Gwyneth says, I had a dream once where Jesus Christ served me a meal of lamb and peas. He said, don't forget your peas. Peas is important, but if your enemy doesn't want peas, you can't force him to eat peas.
I don't believe it.
Hey, shout out to Mosh Cohen for gifting 5 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Thank you, Mosh.
Based. See, there you have a direct IDF active Jew supporting this channel, thereby proving that David Wood is serving the Jews.
You see, that's what I do. What kind of negotiation tactic would he take with Armenians? They're just talking about Cenk here. Yeah, I would negotiate. I would tell the Armenians, hey, yeah, they're exterminating you. They're hauling you off in railroad cars and exterminating you. Just negotiate. Why don't negotiate with them? Make peace.
Just get on those trains. Just get on those trains.
Just get on the train and negotiate. Negotiate how long you're going to be on the train before they kill you. Freaking dope, man. Slavery bad. Now ignore Islam's atrocity. Okay, yes, Islam also enslaved people, but that's not the point. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely.
Let's see. Cenk equals junk. Yug equals eager. How stupid. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. No, only in R it is 3, but 1 + 1 + 1 = 1 in Z2. R and Z2 are called algebraic fields in math.
Beast.
Yeah, but Allah only knows like very simple arithmetic. Samar says, hashtag all eyes on Bangladeshi Hindus. How have we not done a show going through the articles and some video clips of what's going on?
Is it still ongoing? Is it still ongoing?
I think so. I think a lawyer just got a Hindu lawyer or something like that just got attacked, or someone who was defending them or something like that. Yes. Anyway, have to see. Haven't been following it enough. Greetings from the Palestinian Jews. We were legion, but chose to reject the derogatory foreign name.
Beast.
People have a poor and false understanding of history. The Golan Heights was only owned by Syria for only 19 years and owned by Jews much longer, yet the world thinks that it had always been Syrian land.
Yes.
I wouldn't give those Syrians an inch. But these things do show. All these issues do show. Jews are always willing to, contrary to Cenk, Jews are always willing to negotiate when it actually is not insane and it makes sense. They'll negotiate all these issues. Just, okay, you want to exterminate us, that's not going to work out until you drop that.
The funny thing is, Israel has had this policy from forever, since the creation of the modern state. It's called land for peace. They've had this idea forever that our neighbors and these others, they don't want to make peace with us. However, if we make territorial compromises, if we give them land, maybe we can force them into agreements to finally make peace with us. Like, this is what Israel is thinking about. They want to force the other side to finally make peace with them permanently. And they thought, okay, let's give them land and make peace.
Sick.
It works out with some, it doesn't work out with others. And the thing is, it was more prominent in the past to give land for peace. It has become increasingly an unpopular opinion nowadays. It's pretty much, people don't want it anymore. Obviously, you see why.
Daryl here says, "Do unto others that which they will do to you." Yep, that is a lot of people's thinking. Hey, they want to do this, therefore I'll do it.
That sounds like something from the Bible.
Nope. That is entirely different. Hi, David. I just lost my aunt today. She was in her 50s. Her son, wow, that's young. Her son is now a 20-year-old orphan. Please, my brothers and sisters, pray for our family. Yep, that is a young time to lose a mom. Have to say, it's good that he got 20 years. Got 20 years with her. Brothers, thank you from Israel for your work. Yes. Happy to have you. Hello, strangers. Are you aware of the India's issues? India's got all kinds of issues. We're familiar with some of them.
India has real problems.
Mm-hmm. Mike Winger's the kind of guy who never tries to bring in all the groceries in one trip and says, slow and steady wins the race. That does sound exactly like Mike Winger. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, you can check out the full debates in the link in the description box. AP, any idea what's coming up?
Yeah, I would say don't waste your time with the debate. Only watch it for Mosab Hassan Yousef. Cenk Uygur just needs to retire, or I don't know, work at a kindergarten and just talk to children.
I would not trust him. He's going to fill their heads with stupid, insane. Could you imagine a bunch of people raised to think like that? It's like, I mean, has he been doing that? Has he been programming people like that? Because I only watched a few clips from the Young Turks over the years, even when it was big and they were getting millions of views and so on. But I mean, is that what he was doing the entire time? Was that always his reasoning? Oh, it's just like this other thing that has nothing to do with that. So you see there that that's what they have to do because it makes sense in my head. I mean,
all right, kids, let's talk about Donald Trump again today and why Donald Trump is very, very bad. And let's talk about racism and bigotry. Okay, kids, don't be bigots. Always remember. Man, that guy is just such an idiot.
Pretty terrible. Anywho, AP.
We will be live again during this week. I think I'm going to be live tomorrow on my own to do a final reckoning with a masked child who has been asking for trouble.
Why are you doing that without me?
I'm doing it on my own. Going to do it on my own.
You don't have to face everyone on your own. You don't have to face all these problems. You've got friends, AP. You don't have to face everything on your own. You don't have to be Rambo.
I will do it on my own, and it will be the kill shot. That's what it will be. So that's what I will be doing tomorrow.
Anyway, if you want someone to sit there and crack up laughing with you at this stuff, I'll jump in there. But sometimes I'm a fan of ignoring people who want attention. Other times I'm a fan of giving people the attention they crave and humiliating them.
Mm-hmm. So, inshallah.
So we'll see. But we do still have because we didn't go live for a little while.
Yeah.
What? We still have a bunch of issues. We might need
to
catch up on a point. We have a bunch of UK stuff. Just going through the clips of the UK insanity. We've got that.
We have serious
Turks.
Issues, man.
We've got the Turks murdering dogs. We've got Bangladesh. And meanwhile, when we're sitting here trying to save the world from destruction by Islam, what do we got? Then we've got apostate Aladdin. No, I stop that. The world needs to revolve around me and my feelings. What in the world?
You know what's so funny? I saw earlier. Apparently, he made a post at some point because he called out Nuria Khan. He attacked recently. After attacking me, he also attacked.
Wait, he attacked Nuria?
Yeah.
I have a different reaction to do to who start blasting away at girls, especially. I mean, there needs to be more. I mean, how courageous is she in the UK to be standing against Islam? She's an ex-Muslim. All the stuff that's going on over there, dude. You need to keep your freaking mouth.
Well,
I don't care if you disagree, apostate Aladdin. Shut your mouth, know your role, go whine somewhere else, go whine about AP, whine about me. You've got a girl in the UK under a death sentence by the guys who want to brutally murder her in the name of Allah. Keep Nuria's name out short. What?
It gets even worse. Listen, it gets even worse. So he calls out Harris Sultan and Nuria for collaborating with Tommy Robinson and approving of his rally and participating in it. And Nuria actually went to the rally and even gave a little speech on stage. Was invited by Tommy Robinson, and she posted it on her own channel. He calls it out. Nuria Khan later on took the video down. And then explained that she took it down because she has been receiving very serious threats and major harassment from Muslims in her vicinity, including people she knows. And her family got in trouble, so she wants to take it down to just have a little bit of calm for a moment. Apostate Aladdin shares the update that she took the video down as a positive thing, like that Nuria Khan took the video down, and of course she explained that she did it because of threats from Muslims and so on. So get this, Muslims are threatening Nuria Khan because of this video. She takes it down, and Apostate Aladdin is like, oh good, she took it down. This is what we're dealing with. And this guy wants to be the voice of ex-Muslims.
Worst voice for ex-Muslims ever, period. Show me anyone who's worse than Apostate Aladdin, that walking clown emoji.
You could have an Islamist as the voice of ex-Muslims. It would be the same thing.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it would be the exact same thing as taking one of the Dawa guys and saying, hey, Dawa guy, we're going to make you, you go in and we're going to give you full charge over the ex-Muslim movement. It would be the exact same thing as Apostate Aladdin. You would do the exact same thing, namely going around trying to silence everyone from blasting away at the foundations of Islam and constantly whining about everyone and telling everyone what to do and causing division, trying to divide up the community. That's what you do. That's what a Dawa guy, if he were put in charge, would do. It's exactly what Apostate Aladdin is trying to do. What a joke. What a joke.
And what we are saying is,
finish him.
What we are saying is there should not be a voice of ex-Muslims. I am not the voice of ex-Muslims. Harris Sultan is not the voice of ex-Muslims. We are not the role models. We are not. None of us is the leader. None of us is the savior of the community. What we are saying is we as ex-Muslims should be individuals who go out and independently speak about our experiences and share our opinions. And I, for example, am happy to support all the others. This guy comes along and is like, oh, you are the voice of ex-Muslims. I want to be the voice of ex-Muslims. No. How about no? How about no? Anyway.
Yeah, you got to crush that dude. If you want me on there as the laugh track, color commentary, happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Inshallah, we'll see. I think I want to just go hardcore on my own.
Okay, you can go off. Hey, I understand. There are times when D Wood says, I'm gonna go fight these 7 dudes by myself.
As the Bible says, there's a time for everything.
A time to crush your enemies. Yes. Thinks there's more Bibles than Quran types. A lot of Quran types. His mask should have been duct tape. That's funny. Use duct tape next time, Apostate Aladdin. And finally, guys, please read John 5:26. It makes John 1:1-2 in harmony. Only begotten Son of God, not part of 3 co-equals, making up one God. That's heresy. Not part. What are you talking about? Only begotten Son of God, not part of 3 co-equals, making up one God. That's heresy. Yeah, not sure what you're getting at, Ryan. We'll have to talk about that next time on a different show when we're talking about this.
Somebody needs to be stoned. Get the stone. Somebody needs to be stoned here.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you. We know not whence, but AP is planning on going tomorrow, running it alone to crush.
Did you just say we don't? Did you just say we don't know whence?
Yeah. Yeah. AP is taking on Apostate Aladdin to crush and humiliate him tomorrow. Inshallah. Not the most difficult task in the world.
Inshallah.
Beating up a little weakling. It's like just going around picking on some little guy. So AP's kind of a bully. All right.
Yeah, I like bullying people.
And reminder, new video in the morning, guys. Check it out.
Inshallah.